Another thing to talk about. I got another dumb show. I'm on a roll.
So we're here, GameHounds Live. It is July 5th. And I didn't get much sleep last night beyond the fact that we were gaming until very late. Oh, so many fireworks.
There's a really cool video I just saw. Some guy on Twitter did it of a drone shot flying over LA, seeing all like the random explosions, put to the music of the opening of Blade Runner, and it works. You're like, oh shit, this looks like Blade Runner world. Whoa.
Yeah. It was so loud last night. I mean, so loud.
I had an 8-hour turnaround, so I did not get a lot of sleep either. So I just worked till the end of the 4th of July.
Yeah, you saw the video that I sent, Nick, of just holding my phone out the window.
I wasn't sure if I could hear fireworks or if it was just like wind noise.
No, there was no wind. That was all fireworks. That boom, boom. I mean, it was constant.
Yeah.
For almost 5 hours. It went until 3:00 in the morning.
Whoa.
Yeah, and it started before the sun went down. So like, it probably started 7:30, 8. So that's what, 6 hours? It was a lot of fucking fireworks.
I know.
Yeah.
Just wait until like this the tail end, like the aftershocks.
Yep. Well, I'm hoping that everybody just shot off all their fireworks last night, so tonight we can get some sleep. EC Race in the chat room.
I did see that video as well, and yeah, it sounded like just gunfire in the background, like constant gunfire.
Yeah, it was like layered on top of it. I mean, it was not like boom, 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 boom. It was like and it never let up. Like there was never a second when there wasn't sound. And I think it was you and I were playing, and it was right about 1:00 in the morning, 2:00 in the morning, when I was like, oh, it's quiet. There was quiet for like 5 seconds. So it was like, oh, maybe people are starting to go to bed. Hey, Bitters in the chat room. How you doing, Bitters? So, the floor is lava. We might as well hit this before we start the show, the actual podcast show. The floor is lava. Great. You had some input on that?
I finished it, and it's great.
It's
I don't know why anyone
it's
wouldn't like
garbage. Thank you. It is awful.
It's so bad.
It is. It's not even good by bad standards.
I give you, it is funny that when they fall into the water or the lava, that they're just edited out. That's great.
That's the only thing that's awesome. Everything else is terrible.
The acting around it is like so cheesy and hurtful to watch because it's normal people acting.
Exactly.
Right. You know, if it had been normal people acting and they'd had somebody that was a little bit snarky who was the MC.
Oh, you just like the cynicism.
Yes, it needs a healthy dose of cynicism because it is.
No, it doesn't.
Then it seems like it's completely unaware how bad it is.
No,
it needs to have a little kind of breaking the fourth wall, saying yes, we are stupid and we know we're stupid, and that would turn that show from being bad to genius.
No,
or as a potential for it.
No,
I think it would. Yeah, like kind of for the same reason that the Extreme Challenge show was great. Was those like that tongue-in-cheek? We know what we're doing, and they take themselves so seriously that I couldn't.
I find it so weird that you say that show takes itself seriously. Like no one on that show takes it all that seriously. It's not like
it needs to draw that line very much more broadly than it does. It needs to make it very obvious that it's not taking itself seriously. And
I don't understand how you can get more obvious than just the concept. Is like, no, we don't take this seriously.
No, it's
no, that's the point.
I
Like,
don't understand what I just cannot fathom where this line is that you're drawing. It seems completely arbitrary.
okay, so it takes itself as a competition more seriously than it should. Like, it should just be about the fun and the craziness of what they're doing. But
they need a comedian. They need a really snarky comedian being the host of that.
I think if you added snark to it, that would ruin the kind of wholesome, joyous, dumb fun that it is.
It's
I don't think you
I
need
will
the
give
snark.
you the first one,
I don't think you need the snark.
and I will definitely give you the second. It's sort of wholesome. It's definitely dumb, but that's a lie on the third point.
Yeah,
There's no fun involved in
disagree.
that. Eric Baker, Bitters is on team motherfucking Nick right now.
And you know what? I got another show to recommend because I finished Floor is Lava. And so I had a game show sized hole in my heart. And I was like, oh, what can I do? What can I do? And I was listening to the Beastcast and they were talking about Floor is Lava. And then one of them mentioned another show called Holy Moly. And I was like, that sounds right up my alley. So I watched it. And first episode has these two guys in head to toe fire retardant suits trying to make a putt on a mini golf course while literal dragon statues breathe fire in their face. Like literally in their face. They're standing there with the putt and fire right in the face.
Fun fact.
It was
fantastic. I have done Dance Dance Revolution in exactly that situation.
In a fire
retardant suit where every time I misstepped, it shot fire into my face. That was called like Dance Dance Emulation at Burning Man. I wonder if I can find video of Dance Emulation.
Sounds fun. I would do that.
That seems like a problem that gets worse. Like the first time you get fire blown in your face, like you're gonna make another misstep, and it's just gonna get worse from there on out.
Well, that's why it was only like a two putt hole, and they only did that for the first putt, and then it was like, okay, now make it into the hole doing that. But for the most part, that show just mixes trying to make a mini golf putt with stupid obstacle course jumps.
All right, so that's not it. Come on, show me the Dance Dance Emulation part. No. Is it maybe here?
I will say when I tried to watch The Floor is Lava.
AC Wraith has a
There
link.
it is. Yep. Well, that's sort of it.
Wait, check out the link AC Wraith put on.
There we go. AC Wraith.
Because those are way too quick flashes of action.
Yeah. No, I can't do that link because it just doesn't work that way.
Oh,
there
that
we
looks
go.
like the same
Yep,
video.
that's it. That was it. So if you were doing well, it shot up in the air, and if you fucked up, it shot you in the face. You could see the flamethrowers in your face. Come on, dude. There you go.
Okay, they're doing good.
They're doing fine. This was not me. Kevin and I were going to do it together. Oh, somebody got it. Kevin and I were going to do it together.
The screen.
There we go. And he freaked out. He's got claustrophobia, and he didn't know that it was going to be. God, that might even there's two people there. He got into the suit and freaked out. And it's like, I can't do it. And I'm like, all right, I'll do it by myself. And so that's exactly the one I did was Butterfly. And it did not go well because you can barely see anything, and you're just getting shot in the face. And then once you get shot in the face with the flame,
you can't see, and it's like it's all downhill from here.
But yes, somebody just got it super in the face.
You know what? I'm gonna say a controversial opinion. I think more game shows could use flamethrowers.
I think they could use flamethrowers too.
More game shows should add in some fire retardant suits and flamethrowers.
Yeah.
Try to do trivia, like
That, by the
Jeopardy.
way, in a suit where you can only see this much, right? And you could barely see the screen, and you're covered in a flame retardant suit. So any kind of movement you make, you are like in the desert, you are burning up inside this suit, and then flame hitting you. It's not as easy as it looks, put it that way.
I don't assume it's easy. I just assume it's fun.
So yeah, it was fun. I definitely had that moment. So shall we start the show? Proper like. Oh,
Yeah,
and there's the link
yes.
to Holly Molly. I
Yeah.
am not gonna watch it.
That's fine. You don't have to. I found something to replace the Thor's lava hole in my heart.
Okay. Yes, we are all good. Now we can start the show. So I'm starting. Let me mute you guys. Mute me. All right. So, what you guys do for 4th of July? Anything interesting?
I went to see my parents, hung out with them.
That worked. From pretty much when I woke up to when I went back to bed.
Yeah, I played. I finished up Memories of the Alhambra. God, that show is so slow, but it's really good. I love the concept, but the end is just not doesn't. It's kind of it starts out super strong, its middle is super good, and then its end, it's like they didn't know how to wrap it up. It's a shame because it had the potential of being epic, and it was just okay.
Is it done? Like for good?
Oh, I think so. I think that they tried to set something up for a second season, but it was. I don't get the sense that it is popular enough for it, but boy, it was well made. Really well made until the very end, and then it wasn't so well made, which is a shame. It's like somebody pulled the plug on it somehow. I don't know. DH logo. Come on. My computer is struggling right now for some reason.
I think at some point I'll need to get a lamp so that it doesn't look like I'm hiding in darkness.
But you are hiding in darkness. That's what you do.
I just realized that the halogen lamp in this room, the bulb went out. So
Oh. All right. Well, I mean, you
yeah,
look
shit.
fine.
I'm going to try
That's
to do
good.
something about the light. I'll be right back 1 second.
Okay. And we will wait.
Thankfully, since we're doing this during the day, like the sun is up and the window's open, and so that gets most of the light.
Yeah, this is all natural light in here. Be
Hey,
right back.
wait. Okay. Youngest at 43. Family gathering where you grilled sausages. That sounds like a good time.
That did literally nothing. Never mind.
See, Richard Roll in the chat. He was one of those people setting off any of the hundreds of thousands of fireworks yesterday across the nation.
Okay, that's awesome. But Richard, is that Sword of Truth, Richard?
$200 worth of fireworks.
What was it?
Richard Roll. That's how he spent 4th of July.
Oh, I hate you. Oh my God. Well, I mean, are fireworks legal in your town? Because they're not legal in my town. And like not even the safe and sane stuff. You cannot light off a firework. Even in Richmond right now, even
So what's funny is
are illegal.
okay, I'm gonna try to paint a picture, like for people not in the Bay Area. The way the East Bay is set up, and the way like I usually travel, is I live up north, kind of up north in Castro Valley. My parents live south in Fremont, and between those, there's a place called Union City and Haywood. And so going from my family house in Fremont, driving back at night, going from Fremont to Union City to Haywood to Castro Valley. I think the fireworks are legal in Union City because in Fremont, we could hear the fireworks, and we were like, we can't see anything like coming up in the sky, but we could definitely hear them. Where are they? And so as I went up Mission, which is like a street kind of along the highway, the mountain area that just kind of leads straight almost from north to south, right through all those cities. In Fremont, there's kind of nothing. Once I crossed that border into Union City, it was like, oh, here's the fireworks. This is where they are. There's actually people, there were some people setting them off like on the side of, not on the side of the road, but like just past it. There was one area where there was like a break in the buildings, and people had actually pulled over onto the side of the road so they could watch a few blocks over as people shot fireworks into the air and had their own little makeshift fireworks show. And then as I kept going north, once I got into Haywood, definitely died down. There's a couple more, people setting it off. It was like, okay, there was definitely a dramatic drop off in how many people are shooting off fireworks. And so it's like, there's that one city in between that everyone can hear, but unless you're there, you won't see them. But that sound travels.
That whole area right there.
It's like that's where the culprits were, at least for the East Bay.
And it sucks because you see what's just to the right of all of this stuff, just east, is all these mountains, and they are not green anymore. They are dry, tinder dry. We had just my county where I live, which is up here. My county, this area, as you can see, a lot of open space. We had something like 116 fires last night.
Holy crap.
Yeah. At one point, there were 10 fires within a 30-minute period. Out everywhere from all the way where I am, all the way out to here, because we got a big county. All the way out to here. Yeah, that's where at the end of it is, right here, Brentwood. So from there to there, this whole area, well, right there, was pretty much on fire last night.
I'm guessing most of it got put out, though.
Oh yeah, it all got put out, thank God. But it doesn't take much. Unfortunately, it wasn't really windy. If it had been windy, yeah, there would have been a loss of life. We had one just north of me up here in this area, right? No, not Pinole, Hercules, right here in Rodeo. There was a fire not last night, but the night before that burnt down a barn that had a horse inside and killed the horse.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, like there was a lot of stuff like that happening where livestock and animals were getting burnt. It sucks. So, we're not like all the idiots. We had the decency to drive out in the country and fire them privately. He said, good. I'm glad. That's the way you want to do it. As long as, you're not out in super dry areas. Because that's what we got going here. All right. So we hit this show. We're only 21 minutes late doing the actual show.
Yeah, that's about right.
All right. We're doing it.
I think that's average.
And these podcasters are big fat potty mouths. If you're younger than 18 or are easily offended, please stop this podcast now. Oh, and your mom says to take out the trash and do your homework.
All right. Mics are hot. Hello and welcome to GameHounds. GameHounds episode 552. We are recording this on July 4th. Oh, I wrote June 4th on YouTube. Sorry about that, guys. July 4th, 2020. And, sorry, not July 4th. July 5th. It's July fucking 5th. It's July 5th. Sorry. I'm an idiot. Welcome. Got Nick. We've got Andrew in the chat room. How you doing?
Well,
how's the new place? You were moving last week.
yeah, so it's good. As was described to me, it's roughly apartment shaped, but it's nice. It was exhausting. I spent my entire days off from work moving. So
Yeah.
setting up and just settling in. No one tells you how much energy and time you spend just picking up after yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you want to keep things clean, if you want to cook dinner every night, so much of your free time is used just cleaning and putting stuff away.
Yes. And that is why my back there looks like the way it does. Because and you're kind of easy right now because you've just started out. You don't have much stuff.
No.
Live in a flat for 29 years. This is my 29th year living in this flat. And you accumulate a bunch of shit. And you just have to get rid of it. But then you got a husband that doesn't want to get rid of it. And it becomes a problem. You have to sneak stuff into the garbage can.
I was also... I expected the starting amount of stuff you need to be more expensive than it was, but there's still a lot of stuff you need to get if you're just starting out and going on your own for the first time.
Oh, yeah, the stuff you don't think about,
that you just take for granted.
Oh, wait, that's right. I don't have a cleaner.
I
Well,
don't
yeah.
have a colander. I can't strain pasta.
I had that exact thought the other day, and I had to go out and buy one. Exactly that.
Well, that was the whole premise of people of wedding presents, originally. Now it's completely off the hook, but originally it was like, hey, this is stuff that you need to set up your house to have a house. Things like dishes and plates and flatware, because you don't have that shit, and it's expensive to just start a house, especially a house for two people, married, working. It's super expensive.
Yeah, I got the basics, and like I said, I'm settling in. It's a tad lonely being on your own, but it's good.
You'll get used to it.
Bonus points is just not having to wear pants. Greatest thing in the world. Just not bothering anyone. Moment you come home from work, pants off, right in the doorway. No one's problem.
Then you have to pick up your pants and take them in the other room because you have to keep yourself the house clean.
But that's the thing.
No.
You don't because it's just you.
That's the thing. You do because it is just you. Otherwise, you get what's going on back here.
You got a pile of pants by the door, and then when it gets a little high, you're like, okay, I should put those away.
No. Do not listen to Nick.
They are work pants that I wear often, so I can just kind of leave them in the living room because I'll be using them the next day. And any clothes that I take off,
hang them on a hook by the door like a jacket.
Your pants hook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And any clothes I take off that I'm done with, I just throw in the washer. I don't start it. It's just there for when I want to.
You have
wash clothes.
an in-unit washer?
Yes, it was one of the reasons I chose this place, despite it being expensive. An in-unit washer and dryer.
Motherfucker.
Yes. It's fantastic.
But by the way, and Nick, I don't know how comfortable you feel about saying what it is. How much you paying for that expensive unit?
This one?
No, not you, Andrew.
Oh,
No.
$820.
Huh?
$820 for a 2-bedroom.
For those of you at home, Nick is flipping off Andrew right now.
It's like 950 square feet. It's not big.
That's about the same as this one. You know how much I pay for this one?
No.
$2,500.
Wow, that's a good deal.
Yeah, that's a good deal.
That's a really good deal.
Yeah, and it's twice what he's... No, more than twice.
It's
More
almost
than
3.
twice. Almost 3 times. Fuck. Bay Area, piece of shit.
It is actually over 3 times by just a tad.
It's true. Yeah, see, I fucking hate it. God damn it. Fucking Bay Area.
Bitter
pretty
says, I
expensive.
live alone and go pantsless half the time. Yeah.
Okay, I lived with roommates for 2 months. I was out of my mom's house, and I wore pants almost nonstop for the 2 to 3 months I was there. It was hell. I do not recommend it.
Hell is pants.
Yes.
Hell is other people and pants.
Yeah.
Funny
is it
thing,
with
if you
guys
leave,
in their pants? I have no problem wearing pants every day.
if you lose other people or pants, you lose the other. Typically, like
That's true. The both of those usually come together as a
Two
bundle.
pants or roommates. Pick both or neither. You can't have just one. So, what you guys been playing?
I've gotten way further into Last of Us,
Yeah.
and I'm still really enjoying it. But I also have started thinking that game has some real bad pacing issues.
Oh,
Um,
really?
so do you guys remember the Simpsons episode with Poochie? Poochie, the rapping dog.
No.
no.
It's basically the Itchy and Scratchy show, where the cat and mouse kill each other. They try to add Poochie into it, and if you just look up, like on YouTube, like Poochie Fireworks Factory, in that episode, the way the Itchy and Scratchy episode within the Simpsons episode goes is like the two animals are going to the fireworks factory. Well, they're probably going to get into shenanigans and kill each other. And then Poochie comes up and just starts derailing everything. And at a certain point, one of
All
the
I'm
kids,
getting is fireworks, factory explosions. Poochie.
yeah, add Poochie, add Poochie.
I did.
No,
Oh,
there's a kid that complains like, when are they gonna get to the fireworks factory? And it's one of those lines in a cartoon that stays with you for years and just becomes like a meme in your own head, has an indicative of like whenever something is just going on too far and just dicking around, you're like, when are they gonna get to the fucking fireworks factory?
mm-hmm.
Last of Us has a lot of moments like that, where once you get to Seattle, you kind of establish this base of operations. And then a lot of the game is you deciding, okay, I'm going to go off. Ellie decides, like, okay, I'm going to go off in this direction and visit a hospital because I have information that the person I'm looking for is there. Then you come back and it's like, okay, well, now I got to go to this aquarium. Now I've got to go to this Ferris wheel. And so a lot of the game progresses with like you going out, investigating something, and then camera cuts and you're back. The next day you go out someplace else. Getting to those places takes so fucking long. It's like, oh, I got to get to the hospital. Okay, I'm walking along, get into a stealth section, get into a combat section, explore something, scrounge around at some buildings. Okay, I'm going to get to a high point and look out. Oh, I'm only like 25% of the way to the hospital. Okay, that's still pretty far away. Let's go back down, go through some apartments, go through, kill a bunch of people, kill some zombies, blah, 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 combat, stealth, scavenge, get to a high point, look out. Oh, fuck, I'm only halfway there? Jesus Christ. Go down, more combat, more stealth, more exploring, more combat, more stealth, exploring, pop up. Jesus Christ, I'm 75% of the way there. Just fucking get there already. Please, none of this stuff matters. Get down, finally get to the hospital, and that's when it gets good. Like, the problem with all that stretch of stuff in between is that it just feels like filler. Like, once you get to the hospital, the story kicks into gear and you're like, okay, she's confronting the people that wronged her. This is cool. Like, shit goes down. All right, this is great. And then you go back to the base of operations and, they talk about what happened. It's like, oh, this is all good, compelling stuff. I like this. Next day, okay, let's go to the aquarium. Ah, fuck. I've got like 5 hours of travel. And the worst part is it's 5 hours that feels like the story gets put on pause, while I then have to travel and go through all these fights and all this stuff. And it's like, the fighting is good. Like, the mechanics of it are fine. Like, it's a good, tense survival game. But this is also a very intensely story-driven game. And so to get to these sections where the story literally feels like it's being put on pause for just extended hours of section, it's like, imagine watching an episode of television and it's like, they get to Seattle. Ooh, next episode, Ellie's going to go to the hospital and confront the people that wronged her. It's like, oh, that's cool. Okay, I'm going to watch the next episode. And it's just her walking for like, 60 minutes. Next episode, Ellie keeps going to the hospital. You watch the next episode, and it's her just still walking. And you're like, okay, why am I watching this? Why did you film this? Why is this an episode? Next episode, Ellie's still walking. You're like, Jesus Christ, I'm just going to skip ahead. Skip that episode. It's like, oh, Ellie arrives at the hospital. Finally, you wasted 3 episodes of your season like on pointless travel that doesn't actually matter to anyone. And it's so frustrating. And it keeps doing it. It keeps doing it over and over again. Was like, hey, you should go to that Ferris wheel. And it's like, fuck you, game. I know you're going to just like make me go through a bunch of shit for 3 to 5 hours. And it's like, you motherfuckers, just fine. I'll do this because I want to see what happens next. But I want you to know I hate it. And it's like, God.
Well, I mean, that was one of the great things about the first one was the pacing. Like, it was all about traveling, but it was a constant forward motion as you kind of traveled across the country. And
yeah. And like with that game, it was about the journey, right? That game was very much about these two people getting to know each other while traveling literally across the country.
Right.
Like that's what that game was about. And so the journey didn't feel like filler because the journey was kind of the point. And it was about these people growing closer to each other as they journeyed. Whereas this game is very much about, yo, you're here to do something specific. You want to get to this specific place to confront these specific people. Go there, do your shit, come back. Like the journey is not the point. The journey is just in the way of the story. But other than that, like, it's really good. Other than that, like, supremely frustrating pacing issues. Once it gets to like the story content and the narrative moves forward, it's really good. I can see why some people. There's an article on Polygon that's like the Last of Us discourse has become a minefield, and I guess it's a combination of almost like what happened to The Last Jedi. To regurgitate our Star Wars talk from a couple episodes back, with like a bunch of Gamergate, misogynistic, anti-homophobic people. Once it leaked and it found out like just how much of it, like, hey, look, Ellie has a love interest. It's another girl. There's a trans character in the game. Like a lot of those Gamergate people jumped onto the game for hate. Right? It's the kind of thing that people latch onto as, oh, it's SJW bullshit. And so it got a lot of hate for that, which is easily ignored. But then there's a lot of people like legitimately criticizing it, being like, hey, the pacing's really bad. Hey, this is really just like a nihilistic dive into the worst parts of humanity, and it's not really enjoyable. And then you have the creators coming out and kind of defending themselves in a way that's like, fuck all of you. You don't understand. And it just creates this combination of toxicity that when I read that article, I was like, man, I'm glad that I don't read any of this. I'm glad that I'm not on Twitter. I'm glad that I'm not part of this larger gaming criticism discourse. I'm just going to play the game kind of separate from all that and kind of, I don't know, form my opinions in a bubble, so to speak.
And I guess Naughty Dog has spoken out because actors, the game actors, are actually getting death threats now.
Yeah.
Laura Bailey, who does the voice of a character named Abby, who's kind of the villain of the game, is like getting death threats herself. And it's just one of those things where it's like, you realize that she didn't write the game, right? And also you realize that Abby's a fictional person. Like this character that you hate so much isn't real. And so if you send death threats to the person that voiced her, like that doesn't really change anything. Like you're not fighting back against any sort of, larger wrongness. It's like none of these people actually exist that you hate so much. It's so stupid.
Yep.
And you know what? I will say this, for all the people that like Abby in particular, like is sort of the target of all this hate, I've gotten to the point where I've played as her. Like the game has kind of switched perspectives, and now I'm playing as her. I agree with AC Wraith in the chat. Abby's probably better than Ellie. I really like Abby. I really sympathize with her. And from what I've played of Ellie, it's like, damn, bitch, you, I can't follow you down this dark path. I'm making you do these horrible things, but I can't follow you here. You're kind of fucked up.
I do it in protest.
Yeah. I want to see what happens next, but it's like, yeah. So I don't know. I feel like a lot of the people hating on Abby, it reminds me a lot of the hate that the actress of Skylar White got on Breaking Bad. Skylar was the wife of Walter White, and Walter White was the main character, and he's the drug dealer. And his wife, is like, what are you doing? Like, don't do this. This is fucked up, and she's a character that kind of constantly gets in his way because, look, he's a drug dealer doing illegal shit. And a lot of fans, responded to that by hating on Skylar and by sending a lot of negative messages to the actress that, portrayed her. And it's like, it's this moment where, you kind of realize that a lot of the audience valorizes the wrong people in media. It's like, you're not supposed to really like Walter White, except a lot of people do, and they seem to hate the voices of reason and the voices of morality. And in a way, I think this is similar, where, yeah, Ellie's like the main character, and she was a character in the first game, but you're kind of not supposed to like her in this one. You're kind of not supposed to agree with her in this, and it feels like a lot of people do just out of that kind of reactionary loyalty to protagonists.
Well, a couple things. I think anyone who's sending those death threats, I don't think those are necessarily healthy people. They can't if they're mixing up reality and fiction or just someone's voice for a character. They probably have deeper problems.
Yes, and I like AC Wraith in the chat. He says he wants a CG movie of Ellie and Abby singing the Critical Role theme song. Because those actresses are on Critical Role and actually do sing the Critical Role theme song.
Nice.
So it would be funny to see the characters doing that.
I like AC Wraith because he said this man walked for miles delivering packages just to have NPCs sometimes talk to him. And I think that's fantastic. But I mean, I think that's a good point of not liking her, because I also think that's a good story experience of kind of developing her as a kid, in the first game, and seeing how she changes as an adult.
And it's one of those things where, I mean, even at the end of the first game, I think Joel is the main character of that first game, and you're meant to really sympathize with him and his growing attachment to Ellie. But by the end of that game, he makes a choice that you're supposed to go, this is fucked up. You shouldn't have done this. And you made yourself the villain of the game. By the end of The Last of Us, Joel has become the villain. And
I don't necessarily agree with
disagree. He totally has. He totally chooses to fuck over the majority for the sake of the few. And it's like, I understand your personal connection, but you kind of made the wrong moral choice. You are the villain of this piece. Also, he murders people real bad. And it's like, yeah, you're kind of a piece of shit.
Yeah, Miles Thompson says, or the hate of that actor from the Peloton ads received. Ryan Reynolds gave her another job because of all that. Yeah, did you see the Ryan Reynolds ad? It's hilarious.
Yeah, I did.
I did not, no.
Yeah, it's really funny. It's essentially, she's making fun of Peloton like she is the wife.
But yeah, I think I still really like this game, and I still like the first one. I think these games are interesting because they are presenting protagonists that are kind of at their core not good people. And It
Well,
reminds
they're
me of
human.
like,
They live in the
yeah,
gray area. There
not
is
just
no
that,
such
but
thing
like
as a good person.
a lot of I remember a lot of the talk about, the critical discourse about Uncharted was like, Nathan Drake is this real chippy, roguish, charming guy who, when you think about it, murders like a good town's worth of people through
Yeah.
each of those games.
Right.
At the end of Uncharted 4, you probably murdered, at least half of LA at that point. And it's like, how do you equate this genuine mass murderer with, hey, I'm just a happy-go-lucky guy looking for treasure?
And he
And
never loses sleep over it or anything. Like,
no, he doesn't. He doesn't. Um, and Last of Us feels like a response to that because these characters that you play as are genuinely people who could murder a town's worth of folk and not lose sleep over it. Like, that is who they are at the core. Like, yeah, I'm going to murder these people. They're walking around doing the rounds, and I'm going to stab them in the neck and watch them bleed out slowly, and I'm not going to think twice about it. And, like, that's who they are. And so you're supposed to, be uncomfortable with them. But it's interesting just seeing the degree to which some fans and people like still attach themselves to these characters with the loyalty and the degree of Nathan Drake of like, oh man, I love Ellie. Oh man, I love Joel. They're my favorite characters. And it's like, they shouldn't be anyone's favorite character. These are real wrong people.
Mm-hmm.
You can appreciate them and like them, but to say they're your favorite, it's like, oh man, they can be your favorite anti-hero, right? In the same way,
Right.
Walter White is a great anti-hero. Ellie and Joel are great anti-heroes, but they're not heroes. They're not
Right.
people to be necessarily valorized or honored or respected. They're people. They're like Greek tragedies. They're warnings. What is it? There's a specific word for it. Like what not to do. Like characters who represent
Parables?
what not to do. Kind of like
Cautionary tales?
cautionary tales. Yeah.
Okay.
The cautionary tales of like, these are people you should not be.
Right.
but I
And
mean,
it
it's
makes
also
them-
the world we live in. Like, that is a harsh world.
Yes, and that's true. And that's kind of what adds to it all. But yeah, that also makes them fascinating characters to watch from a like narrative perspective because you can just that they will make things worse, and it's so addicting to watch them circle that drain and just go down it. It's a tragedy. Like it's a true tragedy in that way where it's like, oh, your future and it's not good and you're going to try to stop it, but in trying to stop it, you just make it all come true. It's like, okay, yeah. So I'll probably finish it by next week, and I'm really curious how it will end because the way that the structure works is like you play as Ellie for a bit, and then it builds to a climax, and then cuts to flashback, and you start playing as Abby through that same time period. And you kind of see how this other character, what they were doing with their lives while Ellie was doing her thing. And so like I've got to the climax of the game, and then it flashed back, and I'm like, oh shit, I gotta see how this ends. Like, because that's the thing, the writing is still like uncommonly good. Like even in those times of just exploration when there's two characters talking with each other about what they're seeing, the writing is so good. Just the general moment to moment dialogue with these characters is uncommonly good. I would watch a scene of these people just playing cards, because I would trust that the writing would make that card game really compelling and fun to watch. So yeah.
So, Andrew, what you been playing?
So I didn't play a lot because of the move and then
Yeah.
just relaxing. But I did play 2 new games because I don't know when to stop myself. And they were both on PC. One is on console too, but the first one is GTFO. And it is a 4-person co-op survival game that kind of has horror aspects to it.
Okay.
It's kind of like Left 4 Dead, how you kind of move through a level. And I got it for that reason, just because it was a co-op game. It looked fun, and I kind of liked the idea of a 4-person horror game. It's made by 2 of the people who made Payday 2. They broke off and they made their own company, and they developed this game. Okay, first the negatives. Have you ever watched a jump scare video where it's like, hey, meditate to this peaceful garden for like a minute, and then there's a jump scare at the end, and they have this horrible scream
Oh
that's
yeah.
just kind of like it's in the same fashion of the Wilhelm scream, where it's like this thing that you could just buy and put it on anything. It's really loud and horrible. They put that on the start menu, and whenever you fail a mission, and I want to throw my computer at a wall, not because it's scary, but because it's annoying. No one needs to put that in their game ever, and if you do, you are a monster. So I went into this game blind. I got 3 other friends to buy it purely out of charisma and forcing them into it. Not gonna worry about that. Anyways, I didn't know how to play the game. I just knew that it was co-op and it was kind of dark and atmospheric. First thing I learned was it is a resource management game. You have ammo and you don't start off with full ammo. And as you're working through the game, because you get 2 weapons, a melee weapon, and then like a gadget, and you find toolboxes which increase your gadget ammo. You find ammo packs which increase your ammo as well, but not to full like 20% across the board, and then health packs. Each one of those has 2 charges. So if you have 4 people, only 2 people can get 1 charge of each. And you quickly realize that if you aren't careful, you will run out of ammo so quickly. Like, it's annoying, but it's really fun because you have to use your melee weapon, like, and get as far as you can stealth, and you have to make sure you're hitting those shots because if you're missing, that is the difference between life or death. And we ended up playing for like 3 hours. The first couple missions went horribly because it was just me and one buddy, and we realized quickly that we couldn't do it. And when we had 4 people, we got to the end of the first level, and we hit a wall. None of us had any ammo left. We're talking like 5 rounds in our guns. Like, nothing. And we ended up losing because of it. And then
Could you have stealthed through that section and gotten it?
At the end of the missions, there's typically like an alarm or something that goes off that you have to deal with. So you have to fight. And so we lost the first one. And then the second one, it starts in this like haze, and you have to go turn on generators to clear out this poison fog, which was creepy as hell. Like, oh my god, it goes up to above your head, and you cannot see 5 feet in front of you. So you have these little things crawling at you in the mist, and you're trying to figure out where to go, and it is hard. And it's poisoning you.
Oh god.
So that was fun. We got to the end on our first try, but once again, we got to the end, and it was no ammo left. Like, 2 people went down. I went to go use my hammer, and I was like, oh, 2 people are down, and then I'm down. And then the last person goes down. So you end up losing. You have to start all the way back over. It is brutal, but it is fun for that reason. That guy just shot his teammate.
Whoops.
It's only like $30, $32. It's on early access currently. I haven't beat a level yet, so I can't really say what the progression's like. So, yeah.
It sounds like something that we might want to do. Is it PC only?
It is PC only. I think at some point it will come to console. One really cool mechanic is you have terminals, and with most games, when you hop on a computer, you kind of have like menus that you can click on. This one, you actually have to type out what you're looking for.
Oh.
And it's pretty cool, but I have a terrible like short-term memory when I'm trying to remember a name and then like numbers, and there's like a billion of them. So I keep hitting the same like, give me the list. That's the one I need. Let me ping it. It's not here, okay? Need to find a new one. And like you just kind of, you can ping stuff on the map if it's close to the terminal. Yeah, so it's fun. If you have PC, if you have 4 friends, get it.
Oh, this is looking bad for this guy. Oh.
Like,
that's a lot of monsters.
Yeah,
coming at him.
Like with the shotgun, which he's using now, you get like 18 to 20 rounds. So if you're missing, you're gonna run out of ammo so quickly, and that is probably the most fun part of the game. Is just this hardcore resource management.
Yeah, That's cool. That sounds like The Last of Us.
Because
Alright.
like we're at a point where like someone has 17% ammo and someone has 8. We're like, all right, we'll give you one of our ammo charges because you have 8%. Even the only other person has literally like 8 rounds between 2 guns to his name. So yeah, that was my first game I played in.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, it does sound cool.
Um,
Oh, yeah. Corey Wallace made it to where he was going for to be with his family.
oh,
Cool.
nice.
Yeah.
Right. Then the second game is
Yes, the second game.
it's been out for a while and it's on console too. It's called Remnants of Ash, and it is
I've heard that one.
it is a loot-based shooter that has Dark Souls elements where there's a heavy focus on dodging and kind of timing your stuff, like your shots, and mainly just dodging. It's all about dodging.
Is it Remnant from the Ashes?
Yes, that's
Okay.
it. My bad. Currently has one DLC. A second one's coming out. Bought it because a friend was looking for a game to play on PC, and it is actually a lot of fun. The loot doesn't drop like Borderlands or Diablo or Destiny. Instead, you get resources like iron and then scrap, which is like money, and you use that to upgrade current equipment. And across the map and like hidden areas and stuff like that, that's where you find the other equipment that you need, like rings, amulets, sometimes armor or weapons. So you're not constantly getting loot from drops or anything like that. And there's a sense to go out and like explore the environment and world because you might find like one of those rare pieces of loot. The enemy design is pretty amazing. It's pretty unique. The environments are varied and great. And the storyline, if you're into fantasy, is pretty awesome. Essentially, there's this hive mind enemy called the Root, which invades worlds. And they've invaded the world. And based on the timeline of like a journal I found, it's back in the 60s they invaded. And we're currently taking place in like 2012.
Huh.
And one of the main characters you're trying to find is the great grandpa of the current leader of this safe area called Ward 13. And the leader is like 60. She has gray hair. She's older. And you're looking for her dad or her great grandfather who is still alive. Because apparently worlds have guardians and they're immortal. And you quickly find out that there are other universes that you have to go to. And you're trying to find a way to stop this invasion. And there's a lot of cool fantasy elements, and it's pretty damn unique. And you can play with up to 3 people. It's a lot of fun.
How many did you play with?
I played with just one other person.
Okay, how was the difficulty? Because I've heard that it's tough, and like with one person, that's like you might not be able to get through it.
For the most part, it's been pretty easy. We've had one boss where you're on a bridge and you're fighting this moth, and then a second giant moth appears behind you. So you're between 2 giant moths and you're trying to kill them both. That was the hardest thing we've done, but it's been okay. We've died a few times, but it's not like Dark Souls-esque punishing so far.
Okay.
And if you do die, you don't lose anything.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, I felt it was pretty easy.
I've heard good things about that one, and I've been keeping my eye on it.
Yeah, I mean, I recommend it entirely. Like, nothing about it was bad.
Which of the two do you prefer, GTFO or Remnant from the Ashes?
Wildly different games and appeals. Like, I like them both.
Mm-hmm.
If you want like a gritty, hardcore teamwork experience, I do think GTFO is more that, where this is just more like teamwork fun and like fantasy. Because you get stuff like mods for your weapons, like basically give you power so you can heal. You fight bosses, stuff like that. It's more Dark Souls than GTFO, whereas that's more like gritty resource management. That makes sense.
Yeah. makes sense.
But no, this one's great. I recommend it entirely.
So, anybody else have a game we want to talk about? I mean, Elder Scrolls. I'm still playing that because I'm just hooked on it right now. Corey, stop! I can already hear you giggling. Stop.
You were so adamant against playing it for so long.
Because I knew exactly what this is. I have done this game so many times.
But like, if it's
But what-
good, why hesitate to play it again if it's good?
Because I'm enjoying it because I'm waiting for you to join up with me.
Okay. I mean, I've been playing. I'm actually a fair way through Vardenfell.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish you would get out of Ardenfell so you can go into some other areas because I'm literally not doing. I'm purposefully avoiding doing missions because I know you're gonna
cannot
go
do
those
that
places.
because there are quests in Vardenfell. So okay, I will say this. Actually, I do have this to say about ESO, and I thought about this as I was playing it the other day by myself. Comparing it to Final Fantasy 14 again, like I was thinking, because I was doing a bunch of quests for these people called the Telvanni mages, or specifically for this slave who had magical powers, who then wanted to
Become a mage.
use me to basically like advance through these mage hierarchy, and go from being a slave to kind of being a servant to kind of being like an apprentice and all that. And as I was doing this, I was like thinking, like, who are the Telvanni mages? And like, I know I've gotten in conversations with people like, oh wait, they can own slaves. Why can they own slaves? Well, technically, anyone who signed this pact outlawed slavery, but they didn't sign it, so they can technically own slaves. And I'm like, okay, who are those other people? Like, are they associated with Morrowind? Are they associated with Vardenfell? Who are the Telvanni mages? Like, why are they allowed to do what they do? They talk about, oh, we don't like these like Redoran mages because their magic's different. And I'm like, well, how does mage magic differ from Redoran magic, differ from the god magic of Vivek?
And that's really in the main quest. And that's
Okay,
the
because-
downside of jumping into
Well, see,
DLC.
I don't know if it is, because to me this exposes something that's always been a problem with Elder Scrolls games, which is that the world building is kind of bad. Like, I think the individual quests and like the
I don't know if I can
personal
say
drama with all the quests is really cool. Like, this one quest that we got into was like, oh, this one guy is mad scientist is doing experiments on these bugs in order to create like immortal egg layers. And we go into all these mines that are egg mines. It's like, oh, they have a queen that'll lays eggs, and they mine those eggs. But why? Hi, Shepard. Like, why do they mine those eggs? What do they use those eggs for? Do they eat them? Is it a resource? Do they use them in potions or something? Why do they mine these eggs? And I have absolutely no idea.
For breakfast, just scramble some eggs.
Maybe, but it's like the stories of the egg mines themselves and of the workers in those egg mines are compelling. But when you pull back a little bit and it's like, well, how does this thing factor into the larger world? The game just doesn't really do a good job explaining that. And so much of me going through is like, okay, I kind of get your personal reason for wanting to do this. I don't know how that factors into the larger history. Like, I don't know the politics of Vardenfell. Not like I do with Final Fantasy 14. Like, all of those that game was like the complete opposite end of the spectrum. Well, a lot of the quests, the good quests, were explicitly focused on explaining the politics of each world, what goes on. Like, I know that the forest area is kind of at war with these bird people, and like that's a conflict that's been going on. I know that the desert people have their own skirmish going on. Like, I know the intricacies of the politics of that world and how one faction relates to the other. But then digging into those individual quests is like, okay, these are kind of like the boring fetch things, and these are not quite as interesting. And so it's playing the Elder Scrolls by myself and getting more and more of those quests. It was interesting to contrast those stories of like, Final Fantasy does the big picture really well, but has trouble focusing down, and Elder Scrolls focuses down really well, but really has trouble explaining the bigger picture.
I've always had that problem with like the Elder Scrolls games. Like they're fun. They're legitimately fun games to play, but they've always been kind of surface level, where it's about exploring and seeing the environment and stuff like that, seeing those individual quests. But each game feels definitely separate from the other ones, and the lore maybe doesn't change from game to game, but it seems like they retcon stuff as they keep going.
Like I'm not even in it that far, because I know in every Elder Scrolls game I've played, I've encountered stories about the Daedric Lords. I don't really know who they are. Like, how do they factor into the history of this world? Like, are they gods that fell? Are they gods? Are they demons? Is there like a difference between the gods and demons? How does Vivek, that god, relate to the Daedric entities? Like, there's all these different kind of godly factions, and I don't know how they relate to each other, and it's so very confusing.
You need to go through the main missions.
But all Elder Scrolls games have had this same problem.
Yes, but all of those have been answered in the main mission.
Yeah.
You cannot come in on the second, third, fourth book of a series and then bitch about the world building.
But it feels like this DLC then, like, it's all about Vvardenfell and Morrowind. It should at least do a good job explaining the politics of Vvardenfell in the Vvardenfell DLC.
You've started Game of Thrones like 2 books in, and then you're bitching that you don't understand anything. You've got to go through the main missions. It makes so much sense. Seriously, it all makes sense if you go through the main missions.
By the end of Game of Thrones, like, first book, they explain the factions pretty well.
Right, that was the first book.
And that's the point. They explain the factions.
Right, they do explain the factions in the
really.
main mission. It's assuming that you have played the game and you haven't picked up the DLC as a standalone. You started in the DLC. Seriously.
But I don't. Does the main quest explain, like, the politics of Morrowind and Vvardenfell
Yes!
and Telvanni mages? Does it get into those specific things?
And the gods. Yes.
It still feels like bad writing to not have some sort of self-contained explanation.
Is this one of the things where it's like Nick was playing Final Fantasy? He's like, man, the targeting sucks. And he never actually learned how to target?
Right. Yes, this is exactly that moment. I feel your pain, Andrew, right now. Look.
But like I said, this is...
Finish up Vvardenfell so we can go do the main missions.
You say that, like, oh, the main quest will explain it. I remember when you were like, yeah, keep playing Final Fantasy 14. Don't worry, it gets better, like 20 more levels. And I'm still not really...
Yeah, but you hadn't learned to target.
That's still not...
The
really
main mission explains everything. It all... Because it's...
I did play Morrowind. I remember I played Morrowind. I got to the end of... responding to Corey Wallace. I got to the end of Morrowind. I couldn't defeat the final guy, but I kind of didn't know who the final guy was. I was like, I don't know why I'm here fighting him. Whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's an issue I've had with all of the...
AC Wraith says, Edie is yelling at Nick for ESO like I yell at her for Warframe. True?
Speaking of which...
But yeah, this is just... Yeah.
Oh, really?
I'm just saying, this is a problem I've had with Elder Scrolls games. All of them. I think all of them have had the same issue, that I just don't think they explain the overarching lore very well. I don't think they do a good job doing the intricate world building that is that other fantasies are known for. I've played all of them. I've played Skyrim and Oblivion and
You
Morrowind, and all of
haven't
them
played
suffer from.
ESO. You have not played the base game of
Okay, so
ESO,
are you saying?
you're missing a bunch of information.
So then you're telling me that the writing and world building of ESO is leagues better than it was in those 3 previous games.
He's referring
I
to.
think so. I think so.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see.
I mean, there's an argument to be made there strictly on scope. Like, they have to fill out more of the world, more of the
Right.
story.
Just simply by the nature of the kind of game it is, it's got to fill in the story. And that's the thing, it does fill in. Over the course of the main game, you fill in all of the Telvanni versus the Reterans, what the pact was, why they entered into the pact, what prompted the pact, why the Telvanni decided they weren't going to do it. All of the dynamics that went into that absolutely gets covered in the main game. As well as the warring gods. That is kind of the point of the main story quest, is the warring between the gods.
Okay,
And how it
we'll
gets
see.
and how it gets solved. Good old Moloch Baal figuring out who the fuck he was and what he was doing, and the Daedra, the Daedra cults.
Yeah, see, but the Daedra cults, they have been in literally every Elder Scrolls game.
Right,
They're not a new thing.
No, they're not a new thing, but you understand how they fit into this ESO world a lot better, because this game, by the nature of what it is, like Andrew says, of the scope of the game, that they can actually go into far greater detail about who the Daedra were, why the Daedra were, what they were doing. It all gets explained.
Well, then maybe this is the game that finally builds out the world that the past 3 games have not.
Yes.
But, fool me once, fool me twice, fool me 3 times, I'm going to be a little skeptical of the 4th time.
Says the guy who told me to watch Floor is Lava.
And hey, didn't you say Final Fantasy was just starting to get good?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Like,
after like 60 hours.
It depends how well you play it. Like, you can get to that point in a few hours if you don't look at any of the story. You just skipped that part.
That's why I play it, though.
Who starts a game in the DLC? What a gray block.
Hey, don't blame me.
And then bitches about it.
Blame
doesn't
the
understand
game.
what's going on.
Blame the game for actively starting me there. For not, delineating some aspect of, hey, you can start here, you can start there. I was in the character creation menu, and I'm like, okay, I'm this guy, I'm this class, I'm this, hit start. Boom, in the DLC. I'm like, why?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why it dumped me into the DLC, too. I was expecting it to start the game.
Yeah, see?
So.
That would be bad design on their part.
Corey Wallace says the Floor of Lava is starting to get good.
See, Edie, all you just watch up to episode 3. It gets really good by episode 3.
No, it doesn't.
Just keep watching.
All right, so I guess we're gonna hit Warframe. Is there anything new or different that we want to talk about Warframe before we start talking about it for the next 20 minutes?
Oh, no, I mean, just that I'm going to get you to play it at some point. We have yet to do that. And
it's going to happen.
They did just have an update where they redid some of the starting maps, which are pretty cool.
Good.
So
I'm getting closer. I will say
Yes.
that. I'm getting closer to playing it. I'm definitely doing that.
See, you need to play something else while I slowly work through Vardenfell and ESO.
And bitch the entire
You need something else
time.
to distract you.
All right, so shall we hit the new?
Well, yeah,
But you
because-
choose to continue the DLC after our pleas.
because the individual quests are good. The level writing is really good and compelling, and I want to see what keeps going on in this world, even if the larger lore is poorly explained.
Okay, well, it's not poorly explained. You just haven't. You started in the DLC.
Yeah,
I said when we started it, we were starting in the DLC.
Yeah,
we
see,
probably want to leave, and you
the
were like,
truth
no, I want to stay here.
Like the truth of it is, you say that the main story explains all this stuff, But like I said, because I think the lore was poorly explained in Morrowind and Oblivion and Skyrim,
It's
I
not. It's
hear
not
what you
poorly
say.
explained in
I
this.
hear what you say, and I think I don't believe you.
Okay. Well, then hurry up. Get yourself, because you can always come back to Vardenfell.
Yes.
Or either that or finish up your main fucking
okay.
quest in Vardenfell and get your ass out of there.
No, I have to fill out that map. I need to get every fucking
You will
icon on
come.
that
You
map.
can come back to Vardenfell at any time
The
to finish
only
up that
thing
map.
the only thing I will leave uncompleted in Vardenfell are those bosses.
Yeah, the world bosses. Yeah.
Everything else, I'm like, I need to find this.
Well,
You could
then
just sit around the world bosses till other people show up and just kind of then
That's
take
what I
them
did.
on.
I could do that.
I did exactly what I did by mistake, but I ended
I think
up
you
doing
should
that.
do that. You should spend days doing that just to drag this out more.
Not a bad idea. I might.
So, all right. Can we hit news?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Let's hit the news. This is the GameHounds News, the news, views, and commentary of the week in gaming with Gamer Edie, Nick DiNicola, and Andrew Smith. I almost said Hilly Golly. He's here in spirit. And our first item is...
I got something.
Yeah.
So the 2K announced that their basketball game 2K21 is going to be $70 on launch for the PS5 and Xbox One. And this looks like other publishers and developers are looking at possibly doing the same thing.
What's the price on it?
$70
Wow.
for just the base game. So it's going to be a $10 price hike on games, and other companies are looking at doing the same. So we could end up seeing, like we did back in 2005 with the jump to Xbox 360 and PS3, another $10 hike.
That doesn't surprise me.
It makes sense. I'm curious to see if others would do it because 2K, those games are known for being like riddled with horrible microtransactions. And so I wonder if this will be perceived as like, oh, that's a fair jump, or just like, oh no, they're just trying to milk you for more money.
Base game price hikes and microtransactions are like pants and roommates.
Yeah.
You kind of actually that's the opposite of pants and roommates. You got to have one. You can only have one.
The funny thing is the PS4 and the Xbox Series X version they're not going to have that price hike. They're going to be $60 for the current gen.
Yeah, that makes sense. It seems like it's just for the next gen. And like, look, there are some games that could totally earn that, right? Like, depending on the size of the game or the level of prestige, it's like, yeah, sure, there should totally be a larger spectrum of prices for games. Like the Miles Morales Spider-Man thing, the fact that that's probably going to be $40 in the same way that the Uncharted Lost Legacy was. I think that's cool. Like a smaller scale, but still like AAA game for $40, that seems like really cool. There should be more of those. And so if you could make something big and expansive like The Witcher 3 and have that be $70, that's fine. Like there can be a spectrum.
But I mean, like you take like you were just saying with 2K21, it being a microtransaction filled game, a carbon copy of the game before, like with slightly different roster.
That's why I can you could make a very easy case for upping the price to $70. 2K is not the franchise that you want to make that case with.
Yeah. It's and especially if they put them out every single year like clockwork. They have to. And you're right. In many cases, it is simply a different skin on the same characters on the same game. It's different roster. That's all it is.
Because usually, like,
different roster and a few different stats, and that's it.
Usually the sports games that come out on a new generation are kind of bad because it's like, oh, it's a new generation. We don't quite know what we're doing. So some of the features of the last one aren't included. And so it always feels like a lesser game than the last iteration. So it's like to up the price on that one that people assume will automatically be lesser. It's like it's a bad decision all around.
And like, I'm not a fan of it, but mainly because I'm cheap and I don't like change. But I ended up reading an article from, it's a business website about games, and I forget what it's called. It's like Business Gamer or something. Anyways, they were talking about the price hike and that it was a good idea. And they were discussing how like other forms of digital media like have also over the years, because it's been since 2005, so a good 15 years since we've seen any major price hike or change in games, that other digital content, like with movies, Netflix, stuff like that, that's all increased in price. I don't know the numbers exactly, but I don't know if outside of costs for wages, I'm not sure how much game development has increased in price. Because over the years, we've seen a unification in like engines. Like you can get the Unity 5 engine. It's a whole set of tools that you don't have to develop for, and you can put them anywhere. And on top of that, with the expansion of digital games, how many people are buying that more often? I think it was like 30 to 40% they quoted is being bought digitally. That's making them more money because every digital game they buy is new. So you're no longer having that used game market as much, and it's going directly to the developer.
Right.
So I'm not sure what the overhead of game development costs anymore.
It's a lot.
I know
It's
a lot, and I think it's still only getting higher because even though the tools are getting easier, the manpower required to make something look like The Last of Us 2 is so time consuming that it's like, yeah, we have to pay people, and we have to pay a lot of people to get something to be this long and look this good and be this consistent.
I am wondering how the pandemic shutdown and the essentially crash of the world economy is going to affect that. And Miles is actually mentioning in the chat about people working from home and the possible savings that comes from not having physical offices or gigantic sprawling physical offices like we're used to seeing. And then also there's a lot of people out of work right now, and a lot of people even in the tech industries, to the point of where like San Francisco, the rents have gone down in San Francisco by the largest margin than they ever have in the history of residential rents in San Francisco. And then one of the things that was driving San Francisco rents were tech jobs. And it means that people are either they've lost their jobs, and there's way more tech people available for fewer jobs, or because they're just going other places because now they're being remoted, meaning that they don't have to make $350,000 a year in order to make, be middle class in the cities where they have their offices, places like EA, places like, all the San Francisco developers. That they can actually, because if they move to remote playing or remote work, I could, if I were remote, you could, if you were 100% remote, Nick, move to where Andrew lives, where his rent is a third of what your rent is. And then you could take a pay cut and still be living very large. You could actually be making more money.
You know what? I'm seriously thinking about something like that because I'm going to be working from home the rest of the year at a minimum. So I'm like, I could do this permanently.
And that is why there has been a massive flight from San Francisco, because all of a sudden now there are a ton of companies in very expensive places that to live and for their employees to live, that they're making their employees remote so they can work anywhere, and they're going where it's cheap. Taking their California, San Francisco money and going to places like Council Bluffs and living like fucking gods.
Yeah.
Bring some money here. We need it.
I'll go there and I'll just be walking down the street throwing hundreds up in the air. Just like...
Yeah.
For the
I actually
birds.
looked at real estate in Council Bluffs, and which is one of the reasons why I'm working at the company that I'm working for, is that I hope to be promoted to a position where I can work remotely, because there's a number of people in my department, like most of my department, work remotely. One woman left the San Francisco Bay Area, met a guy who lives in Indiana and is now living in Indiana. They just bought a house in Indiana. And she's working remotely, and like twice a year, she comes out to the mother office and, buys a flight, comes out here, visits the office, and then flies back.
And I think, with game development, that is like that digital content makes it really easy to kind of work from home. I'm sure you lose some stuff, like some of the teamwork, but the game industry as a whole has already been like sending work out to other developers and other development companies to kind of work on things already. So it's already kind of remote that way.
Yeah.
Where, you'll have multiple development teams across the country working on the same game.
Yeah, and you see this with the indie games, like they talk about how groups of them work, and you certainly see it with Ubisoft, where 6 different studios worldwide work on one Assassin's Creed game. But then at the same time, that's 6 different studios working on one game for $60. Like, if they wanted to charge $70 for Assassin's Creed Vikings, you could make that case. Just like, hey, the game looks good, it's fucking huge, a lot of people worked on it, and like, I know even with tools, the smallest of games is still like wildly expensive to make.
True, but once that game is made and you've worked out the bugs, which is a newer problem in gaming, you no longer have to put money into that product, and it will just infinitely make you revenue for every person that buys it. Like,
except the price of games drops pretty drastically. Like Assassin's Creed Odyssey is no longer $60.
Right.
True, but then you have like 8 games that people can go back and play and buy separately that are still just making you money, that have no development costs whatsoever.
Yeah, but they also, like I said, the cost you're recouping from that is significantly less.
Yeah, but it's a bit like being a landlord. You buy a house and you have this massive debt to buy the house, and the rents have to stay high for the period of time that you are paying down the debt. But once that debt is paid down, you can charge anything you want, and it's pure profit, as opposed to paying for additional overhead costs.
Well,
so you have a $70 game, you're paying for the new, like a new release. You're paying down the debt that they have incurred for the cost of creating the game. Once that debt is paid, they're probably not profiting more than maybe a few bucks, if anything, off of that, or the original at $70 per game. But 3 or 4 years from now, when people are, or even a year from now, when that price drops down to $30, if that debt is paid, that $30 is actually pure profit that they can put into their pocket. That is the golden money.
Yeah,
even if it is lower, because it opens the game up to more people being able to buy it, number one, so you have a greater market available, and B, it is 100% profit that you stick in your pocket and you can actually use for future games or development or buying a solid gold Lamborghini.
I think you're wildly overestimating the number of people that buy older games.
I think, well, if
Like,
that were the case, then
GTA
nobody would
5.
be buying $30 games.
No, like, people will buy older games, but like, once you get, people do, like I do, but for the most part, like, you get a couple years removed from a game, and it's like, well, I want to buy the next one. I don't want to buy the older one. Like,
that's assuming it comes out every single year. You have a lot of games that don't come out every single year.
Even then, I don't think a lot of people buy older games. I think this is an industry that is so focused on the new and upcoming that, once you get a couple years out, it becomes, sure, the $5 I'll pay for like Assassin's Creed Origins now is pure profit, but it's like, after the PSN cut, Ubisoft gets like what, $3 to spread amongst 2,000 development people.
Right.
No.
Here's the thing. Like, I'm for it if the quality like is consistent. If we get more like Last of Us and like Red Dead,
Yes,
which those are the high end extremes, but
Or
like
NBA 2K21 actually is a revamp of the game and not just a new bunch of skin, new players and new stats. That's it.
but if you take what's been happening over the past 5 years of buggy games, microtransactions baked in throughout it, that I would have a hard time digesting.
I mean, like
Getting
that's the point, right? Is like they add those things because they're trying to recoup the crazy development costs. Like that's why live games.
Right.
Just look at the transition to live games. That wouldn't have happened if if like old game sales were still like profitable. You would not see this transition to live games where you put out a battle pass and support a thing. Like EA makes more money from Apex Legends than they do selling old copies of Battlefield or Titanfall or Dead Space.
True, but like just because like the development costs I think vary there, and they don't do that because they're having trouble making that money back on games. They're doing that because they make more money. Like
Right.
there's a
It is
different
more profitable. That 1-year-old game
It's-
is way more profitable than the first game, than the new release.
So it's just profit driven. I don't think it's like they're moving in that direction because this is easier. Because it is easier, but
Well, yeah, because they pay less to make a battle pass than they do a new game.
But you don't see that as the consumer. You don't see that game become less, or you end up spending less on that individual game. With microtransactions, there's a lot of times you end up spending more than the $60 games you would have bought.
Sure. Yeah, that's why.
don't.
I'm sympathetic. I just know that like game development is expensive, and with like the new consoles and all the manpower required for that, it's only getting more expensive. Like it's not getting cheaper. And so I'm sympathetic, but like I said, some games earn it, some games don't. And it would benefit the industry as a whole to create a spectrum of 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, 20 tiers and be like, okay. And you've seen this happen for a while with digital games, like a bunch of independent games, like Outer Wilds is, I think, a $30 game. I think Outer Worlds, when it came out, was it 60 or was it 40?
It was 60.
Okay, but like there's a once you get like to $40, there's a whole spectrum of like $40, $30, $20, and $10 games. Like there's a huge wild spectrum of stuff there. But then once you get above 40, it's like, well, there's no $50 game.
Mm-hmm.
There's only 60 or 40, and then below it can be anything. And so I think it would benefit the industry to create that wider spectrum. And
you kind of hit that AAA title after 40. Like after 40, it's kind of like, all right, this is a full-fledged, like not like the Miles Morales game, but like this should be a full-fledged title. After 40, which is why you don't typically see 50. It just goes to 60.
Yeah, and it's like if Last of Us 2 wants to be $70, fine. The next God of War wants to be 70, fine. But like I said, Madden, these sort of yearly iterations, you could have those 60, but then the next Jedi Fallen Order, make that 70. Like make the yearly iterations 60 or 50 because they're yearly, and then make the once every 4-year big games, make those $70. Use the price to indicate some sort of rarity in releases.
Mm-hmm.
See, what Thompson says is something I kind of agree with. The last time I looked into this, the development costs for games had not really increased over the past 10 years. They had a little bit.
Really?
But
I feel like every generation it spikes.
With every generation, they get to reuse technology that they developed the first time. Again, engines are a huge issue with this, or not issue, but like a huge cost-cutting thing. Like the moment you develop one, that's expensive. But the moment you have that digital product, like with an engine, you no longer have to worry about that costing as much.
Mm-hmm.
That becomes profit. So that's why when you get something like BioWare making Andromeda and they want to force the Frostbite engine, it ends up being a disaster, but they want to use that so that they don't have to pay out of pocket for something new.
Yeah, but
And
they
that
should have,
drives
and it's like,
yes, but that drives costs down.
yeah,
And
but like again, the desire to use that engine for all their games, that desire for cost cutting and saving money, ended up hurting those games because the engine was not designed for those. They should have invested in a new engine to benefit that type of game, but they didn't, specifically for financial reasons, because it's expensive to do that
Prohibitively
stuff.
expensive in most cases.
Developing engines in games in general is expensive, and so they're looking to cut development costs everywhere they can.
But you take something like Bethesda, who's used the same game engine for Fallout and Elder Scrolls from Morrowind and Fallout 3, and we're 25 years later. Actually, that's not probably right, but we're 2 decades later, and they're still using that same engine.
Yeah,
we're still paying $60 for their games.
Right.
Like,
yeah, so you know what? They should make a new engine for, what is it, Starfield, and charge $70 for it.
I would get down with that,
Like,
but that's not how businesses work. They don't get the extra profit and go, we can do more with this. They go, yay, we just made more money. Like,
Right.
Yes.
They bank that.
And it also has to somewhat to do with the particular company. EA is going to be far less likely to create, even though it has more money and more resources to create a whole new engine, simply because it answers to stockholders, and stockholders do not care. When you when you have an opportunity to cut a corner and make a fuck ton of profit, the stockholders are going to want you to cut the corner and make a shit ton of profit. Now, if you're a privately held company like Bethesda, you can do that. You can actually make that executive decision. Bethesda's not publicly owned.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
No, I don't believe it is. No, I think
Bethesda's owned by. No, they're not owned by 2K. Never mind.
they're both but Bethesda's owned by ZeniMax, I believe.
Yeah, yeah.
And ZeniMax, I don't believe, is a public company. I think it's privately owned.
Yeah, I think you might be right.
So the specific developer or publisher that you're looking at that is making the game has a big variance of whether they have the luxury of being able to make that bold decision of taking that $70 and just sticking it in their pocket as profits, or not their pocket, their bank account, showing profitability for the year, or whether they can invest it into the next game with a whole new engine and show a lesser profit with the explanation that we just built an engine that's going to take us into the next 25 years. Freaking investors don't care. Shareholders do not care that you have created a whole new engine. That engine might be able to render everything perfectly, be 100% bug-free, make everything faster, and serve coffee on the weekends, and they will not care. They want to see high profits.
In the end, actually, it might be the opposite. The fact that you sunk budget into that might actually make them upset with you. Like, you are running the company wrong.
Yeah, and they absolutely get shareholders. If you own stock in a company, guess what? You get to vote. You get to vote on who's this fucking CEO. You get to vote who's on this board of directors. Now, if you're a little teeny tiny shareholder like me, no, I don't. But the big shareholders, the venture funds and the retirement funds and the majority shareholders can absolutely boot somebody like Elon Musk from Tesla because they're pissed off at him because he keeps on saying shit that causes the stock to tank.
I guess for me, like, my argument is I'm just jaded to, like, corporations. Like, if it's an indie developer, or I know that money is going to go back to the team who made it, sure. But I know people who work under EA or Activision, they're getting their check. Regardless of how well the game does, they might have, like, bonuses and stuff in their contract. That's just on units sold. But, like, I'm jaded towards those companies. I don't want to give EA $70 for a game. No matter what they do, I don't feel like they're worth it or they deserve that.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I feel the same way.
The thing is, the fair answer to that is like, well, just wait a month and the game will go on sale for $40 most likely.
Yeah.
It's like that's the thing. The cost of games after release, unless it's like a Nintendo game or a Call of Duty game, they usually drop pretty significantly. And so it's like, unless you want to play it in the first month, you don't have to pay full price. So it's.
I mean,
just wait.
You can take something like The Witcher, right? I think that's a prime example of. That's the top end, right? Of single player games. That game is still making an insane profit.
Yes, but it's also
especially now since it's all paid off all of its development costs.
Also, it's an anomaly. It is an outlier in everything. The same way GTA 5. That game is still getting in top 10s every couple months. That is not a barometer of the game industry. That is a fucking outlier that everyone looks at and goes like, what the fuck kind of weird ass rabbit's foot genie did they make a deal with to do that?
It's not something that you can characterize the industry by.
That is Satan at work right there.
But with Witcher 3, I mean, GTA, the online is a good reason why the thing's still selling like crazy. Mm-hmm. With Witcher 3, what you have is quality. Quality and value, and you get customers who respect that.
I mean, also helps that you had a TV show release that was pretty well received and to kind of boost franchise, right? Because I know the books also saw a bump when that came out. So that what is it? The transmedia synergy. Yeah, let's see more of that. Let's wait for the Last of Us TV show. Oh fuck, that's right. They're all making a Last of Us TV show.
Yes, they are.
Oh, shit.
And another one. Can I segue into another story?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, they are making a Fallout TV show on Amazon.
That's true. Let's see Fallout 3 and 4. We'll see boosts from that.
It is being made by the production studio who made Westworld. So the production quality should be pretty high at the very least. Whether or not the story is good, that's up for debate.
Well, as someone who didn't like season 3 of Westworld, I thought season 1 and 2 were really great. And so the idea that the specific people behind Westworld, Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy, are making this Fallout thing, and I'm like, fuck, really? Okay, you got me interested, Bethesda, you assholes.
Yeah, and it's I need to point out, it's the production company who's doing it. So the sets, costume design.
Oh yeah, I heard that it was also those creators, those specific people. Like I said, Nolan and Joy, they will be behind this show. So as someone who really liked Person of Interest and Westworld, I think that they do good work together, and I want to see what they do next. And so I'm impressed that someone of that kind of prestige is making a fucking Fallout show of all things.
I'm excited, but I'm also a bit hesitant because Fallout, the greatest thing about those games wasn't often the story, in my opinion. It was the exploration of these other versions of towns and cities that we know. Mm-hmm. And that kind of feeling that you get exploring those areas. And I don't know if that can be translated well to a movie or a TV show. I would like to see it happen well, but I am excited that this is happening, but I am a bit, I guess, skeptical. That's all.
Yeah, which is fair. Any TV show should be met with skepticism. Like The Last of Us. It's oh, okay, are you just redoing the story of the games? Because that seems completely pointless.
Yeah.
I don't know what they'll do there. What is it? They're making a Borderlands TV show? That seems like it could either be great or terrible. So all of these things, it's first of all, I won't believe it's actually happening until I see a trailer.
They released a teaser for it, and they have funding for a pilot, and they've pretty much been guaranteed money for a season.
Yeah, I saw that they gave it a full series order. So we'll see. Hey, they're still making that Lord of the Rings show. I'll see how that turns out first. Just because it's like Amazon gives a lot of things full series orders, and I'm like, well, let's see how some of it turns out.
And not related at all, but you mentioned Borderlands, and this is just kind of funny. It's not news, but I was looking up news, and I went on the independent.co.uk version of the website, and they, in their gaming news section, they still had Borderlands 3 is going to redefine co-op, and Borderlands 3 first day release hype, and it's like, you guys need to update your gaming web. You just need to get someone in there. That is old.
It's, you look at it and go, oh, most recent article, 2019. What?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, clearly you do not have a regular games reporter.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny. But yeah, with any streaming show, it's like, I'll
watch it.
I'll watch it. I'll watch one episode, and if it's good, I'll watch another. Yeah. Any TV show, it's like you take it on its own terms. It could be good, could be bad, but whatever. Hey, I'm all for people trying.
Yeah, and there's some rich stories that could probably translate well to TV.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know if you should go in expecting that Fallout feeling you get from the games.
Well, yeah, because with Fallout specifically, what I like about those is feeling like this wasteland scavenger.
Yeah.
Where the quests and stuff don't matter so much as me just kind of being out there on my own, trying to survive.
Oh, look, here's a
Nuka
Nuka-Cola plant. Let's go look at what's in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was just an easy segue into that. So that's all.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Let's see. My first item is updating. Oh, you missed last week's news report, Andrew, where it was pretty much just men behaving badly in the video game industry, and
we got some week 2 of that.
Yeah, and that is continuing. A couple of stories that is a follow-up to all of the revelations about sexual harassment and racism within a number of companies, that some of them were surprising, some of them not so surprising. Along that same lines, Cards Against Humanity. As you recall, one of the founders was booted from the company, or at least booted from working at the company. I believe he was the CEO, simply because he was a number of employees came forward and said that he had been said and done racist things, sexually inappropriate stuff, harassing, and essentially making working at Cards Against Humanity a living hell for some of its employees. Not all of them, but some of them, and it is usually based on race and gender. Well, employees at Cards Against Humanity the other shoe has dropped. They're unionizing for a company that prided itself on one that did not have a human resources division.
Clearly it needed one.
Yeah. They actually thought it was hilarious that they didn't have human resources. Well, now they've got what happens when you don't manage your human resources appropriately. In a statement posted on Twitter, the workers said that they have sent a letter to Cards Against Humanity's owners asking them to voluntarily recognize the union under the CMRJB Workers United. And it's come time, and they said, the time has come for us to follow in the footsteps of our comrades at the Onion, Gawker, and Kickstarter. Our company is facing crises both externally and internally. We have failed to make our anti-racist and anti-bigoted values explicitly clear. Within the walls of our office, the trust between the staff and ownership has been eroded from years of abusive management. For too long, our employees have been kept in precarious, powerless, and outright toxic conditions. Employees are demanding, and they're immediately demanding that they immediately equalize the workplace. Their tweet said, we're optimistic they'll do the right thing. So yeah, Max Temkin was the name of the co-founder, and he was over the past few weeks accused of racist, sexist behavior and essentially creating an unbelievably toxic situation that was, but for the most part, everybody in the company kind of went, yeah, it's true. It was all verified by numerous people saying, yeah, this is what it's like to work with Max Temkin. So getting rid of him was not enough. Now they want a union, and we will see how well that goes. And along those same lines, the other company, one of the other big companies that caught a lot of hell is Ubisoft. Ubisoft had what? At least 3 people that were accused of sexual harassment, like gross sexual harassment. Like I wouldn't even call that harassment. I would call it assault in some cases. I read some of the reports from the women that had been assaulted, and I would call it absolutely assault. And then another woman who was in a relationship with one of their vice presidents, not knowing that he was married. She was in a relationship with him for over a year, and he hid the fact that he was married, and apparently had been doing it to a lot of women, telling them that he is single and not. So a week after launching an investigation, because Ubisoft, it all came out within 1 week, and Ubisoft was like, oh shit, we have a problem, launched an investigation. Yves Guillemot, the CEO, said that, quote, the types of inappropriate behavior we have recently learned about cannot and will not be tolerated. In addition to the ongoing investigations, they've set up an online confidential alert platform where people can reopen harassment and other inappropriate behavior reports that have been reported in the past and were not acted upon appropriate in the right way, or that they can lodge new reports, new complaints about things that have happened, so that they can figure out exactly what has happened and who is doing it. Guillemot said that they will shake up the editorial group that oversees the creative decisions, which is a roster exclusively made up of white men. And they are adding a head of diversity and inclusion, and that new post is going to report directly to the CEO. There is not going to be any hierarchy. A person is a direct line to the CEO. And projects director Lidwine Sauer said has been reassigned as the head of workplace culture, where she will, quote, examine all aspects of our company culture, and she will also suggest changes. In addition, Maxime Belland has resigned from his position on the company's editorial team, and this is also following, he was one of the people that was accused of assault and sexual harassment. He'd been suspended previously pending the investigation, but he has completely stepped down from the company and resigned. Also, that Vice President of Editorial and Creative Services, Tommy Francois, has been placed on disciplinary leave in his own investigation. And they also said, Ubisoft said, that one employee from Ubisoft Toronto has been fired outright. Now, they did not confirm who that person was, but Adrienne Gabigny, who was accused of sexual assault in June, is an employee of Ubisoft Toronto, where they say that somebody has been fired outright. So it's conjecture that it is him. It would not surprise me. So Ubisoft seems to be like cleaning fucking house. Whereas there's, we're going to look into this, like Naughty Dog, we're going to look into this culture of toxicity. Ubisoft is like, hey, all you fuckers, stop it. We're investigating. We have new positions, and we are literally taking out the trash.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
good for them. They're not even like, at least on the outside, from an external point of view, it seems like they are being very proactive in making sure to get rid of the bad actors they have and make it harder for the bad actors, any future bad actors, to do it. So we'll see. I'm sure this won't be the last person who loses a job at Ubisoft.
And I mean, first of all, like the fact that they're trying to change the culture is a huge thing. Like from the ground up, that's a good start. I've slowly become a fan of Ubisoft over the years. Like I was on the hate train like 5-6 years ago, but they've worked at redoing their image and kind of defending and building up their games. So on a business side, I like them, and then this is another side that I'm like all for. This is great.
Yeah.
There will always be bad people who get into positions, but having the systems in place that they can be dealt with is important.
Mm-hmm.
It's not hard. Don't be a creep, people. Like,
yeah. Best way for people to protect themselves from rape is to not raise rapists and throw them in jail. Hey! It has nothing to do with what we're wearing or what job we're in or whether we need a promotion. Nothing to do with that. Don't be rapey. AC Wraith also points out that in TV news, the actor who plays the elongated man got kicked off of CW's The Flash for
So I
like
looked at
this.
his. I did read that story and I did see the tweets. There is a question to be asked about where's the line of like going back into someone's past. I mean,
Right.
Obviously there's some offenses that are like terrible, like not to be forgiven. But when you make edgy, racist tweets because your entire goal is just to get controversy around you when you're young, when you're starting out, trying to just get your name out there, if over the years you've changed, like you've never made those mistakes again, should you be punished for that years later?
Yeah, that is an argument that I've kind of struggled
That's
with
one of those
myself.
things I feel like
Like
it
when you
all
go back 20
depends.
years in somebody's life and they were like a 20-year-old, yeah, who wasn't an idiot when they were 20? Who hasn't said something stupid and out of context, and not only that, it was a dumb thing, and you've kind of evolved.
I
think
feel like
it
that
has
all
to do with
depends on
someone
how how the person responds
Right.
now,
right.
right? Like
Right.
when someone pulls up and says, "Hey, look at all this stuff you did." What is their response now? And that's kind of what you just basically.
This guy
Right.
was just like the person who plays that character was just like, yeah, it was fucking stupid. Like, just
Yeah,
no
that seems-
defense. Like, I no reason I've changed. Like, I don't believe that shit anymore. It was back in 2012, 8 years ago. Like, it's gross. It's gross now. But I had forgotten about it. Like,
Right. Well, when you're in a position, and it's a hard thing, you're in a position of extreme scrutiny because you're in the media and you are famous. I don't know if it would be better for someone to come up and say, hey, just so you know, I was a stupid 20-year-old and I made these comments. And I want you to know that if anybody finds them in the past, recognize I don't believe those, I don't like those, and I do not think that way now. If you would actually come forth and been proactive with bringing them out into the open, I wonder if that would change the
Like with your-
conversation around it.
like with
I
their
mean-
employer. I mean, if
Come out with the
that-
press release.
if you're
Come
that
out into the public.
self-aware, then just delete the tweet.
Well, yeah.
Otherwise,
There's
that's
also
a-
that. Delete the
that's a-
tweets.
Lot of extra work to go through.
Right. Delete
Okay,
the
but
tweets
also
and then
the
write
whole-
in the tweets that I went back in my Twitter feed and back to when I was in my 20s and I realized I said some really stupid ass things.
But that defeats the whole purpose. Is that you make these tweets back then, and you're like, it's fine, and then as the years pass, you forget you did it. That's the entire point. Is that it was so long ago, you forgot it happened.
Well, you know,
If you're self-aware enough to remember I did that, then you would take care of it and it wouldn't be an issue.
right. True.
I mean, that is something I've gone back and forth on, like as an internal argument of like, where's the line?
Mhm.
What
Well,
is
the
the
line-
proper response?
The line would always be James Gunn. Because he was the one fired from Guardians of the Galaxy when a bunch of like right-wing people, pundits, dug up old tweets of his, old controversial tweets of his, because they didn't like his politics now towards Trump. Disney fired him from Guardians of the Galaxy 3. 6 months later, they're like, he had a proper response, which is like, yeah, I made those jokes. It was in poor taste. That was back then. I've changed since then, and I disagree with that. And I'm someone different now. 6 months later, Disney's like, yeah, we're hiring you back on.
Right.
Yeah,
We
but
didn't
that was
want to
'cause,
say
like-
anything back then because it was too hot. But yeah, no, come back, please.
And I mean, like, that was also kind of a swelling from, I think, the cast and crew who made a solid point of defending him.
Yes.
Mhm.
So, I mean,
Right. That's the
And
other
so-
thing.
and so
is
there you
that
go.
all
That's-
of this,
that's
all
the
of these things, even at Ubisoft, all of these things would have gone away if people had stood up and said they're not like that now. They were stupid in the past. They are sorry for what they did. They've made amends, and they are actually really good guys. And they're a tale of someone but nobody stood up for them for that reason because they weren't good guys. And if someone did stand up for the guy who played Elongated Man, Hartley Sawyer, if somebody had stood up for him and said, he's not like that at all. Seriously, he might have been that way. He made some poor taste jokes 8 years ago, but I can vouch that he is a wonderful person to work with and does not think that way at all now. That would be a very different conversation
And
within the media.
that may be happening in the background. Like, I don't know, but because from my understanding, those tweets were released and he was fired almost immediately.
Right.
Like, there was no time to like, hey, we're going to talk to you about this. He was just, you're gone. Which is where I'm kind of like, okay, figure something out. Like, talk to people. Like, if you're worried about it, go talk to the other cast members. See what he's like. Stuff like that. Look back at his tweet history. And if it was 8 years ago that he made these horrible tweets and he hasn't done something since, like, clearly he may not still believe that. He may not be that person. And that may not even have been him as much as, like, being edgy, right? Like,
well, from
making a joke for
CW's
shock.
point of view, they needed to fire him starting off and then wait for other people to defend him and then reinstate him. They were not going to be in the position of holding off and then saying, we have talked to other people and we think he's fine. They didn't want to be that company that did that.
And CW is a very inclusive, like, show. Like, they make a point of, having LGBT characters and people of color.
Almost
like,
everything.
Like, they make a point of that. And it's good. So I could see why they were just like, immediately fire him. We'll do damage control after and see what we can do.
Right. Nick, you got something?
Yeah. Speaking of Ubisoft, they actually are making their own Battle Royale game. And a couple people got to play a demo of it. And it sounds interesting. It's called Hyperscape. Wait, can you hear me?
I can. We just lost Andrew.
Oh, okay. Okay, well...
There he's back.
Okay, they released their Battle Royale game called Hyperscape, which sounds... What's the previews have been saying, actually sounds like an interesting twist on the whole Battle Royale thing. It will be a free-to-play game, like Apex Legends, so, the idea of jumping in with no barrier is there, which I feel like is kind of necessary for these games.
What's the name of it?
Hyperscape.
Hyperscape.
And it's out now?
No, it's not out now. There was a preview event recently, and I read the article on Polygon, and I couldn't find a specific release date, but it seems like it's coming soon. What I think is interesting, though, they specifically mention in the article that the game has been in development for about 2.5 years, which means they probably started development around the time Fortnite really started taking off. And it kind of shows the delay between like development and release. What's like, oh, hey, this game is coming out. It's a hot new thing. Let's make our own. 2.5 years later.
Well, this is a AAA studio trying to do it right. Like, they don't want to release...
Yeah, it's not like Activision or EA where they're like, we already have this established shooter genre. Let's just stick a new mode into them.
Right.
Yeah.
but it's like a lot of it is focusing on traversal. Like there's a lot of running up buildings and running across buildings, kind of like a Titanfall mobility, which seems really cool.
That's
And
awesome.
then the way that they deal with upgrades also sounds interesting, where you don't have player abilities like in Apex. And the way guns work is there's no rarity for guns. So it's not like, oh, I found a pistol and now I found a machine gun. Oh, or like a better pistol. So I'm going to get that. Every time you get a base version of a gun, but if you find that same gun again, it gets upgraded. So it's
that's
not
kind of nice.
so it's not like you're running into situations where it's oh, I found like, a pistol and a rifle. Oh, but I open up another crate and oh, it's just another pistol and rifle. Well, shit, I can't do anything with those. Every time you find that same weapon, it gets better and better. And so I think that I like the sound of that because it feels like you're not disheartened by exploring and opening up stuff and constantly finding things you can't use. So yeah, and then there's like a little twist on like once it gets to the final circle, it's not a free for all like it is usually. It turns into a capture the flag mode, where
Oh, cool.
you have to like stay in that circle for a certain amount of time to win it. It's not just about killing everyone; it's about controlling that space. Which, little tweaks here and there to the formula, but tweaks that I was reading about, thinking like, this actually sounds pretty neat. So we'll see what it's like when it comes out. But at the very least, this seems like it could be a good addition to the battle royale genre to exist somewhere alongside PUBG, Fortnite, and Apex.
I mean, I've always enjoyed the battle royale genre. Like, it gets a lot of flack for like end up being generic, just kind of everyone's making a clone of it.
Mm-hmm.
But they're genuinely fun, and they kind of level the playing field with a chance of luck with these games. Like, if you get the drop on somebody, or just positioning right, you can equalize the skill level, which makes it pretty fun.
The thing is, like, all the big ones, like I said, PUBG, Fortnite, and Apex Legends, they're all very different from each other.
Yeah.
Like, they all have the same basic idea, but they all tweaked it in enough ways that they kind of stand out with their own identity.
Yeah,
I
and
love
like,
the whole wall walking and being up on top, high on buildings, being able to run up buildings.
Seeing this video, I didn't know they had video of it, but seeing it in action where you're literally running up the side of a building like Spider-Man, that's pretty cool.
I like the weapon switching. Like, just visually, that's pretty awesome. Where you kind of throw it and it comes back digitally.
So yeah, it's that sounds cool. My next item is that let's see. Hold on a second, I gotta get this off here. My next item is, speaking of new games, that Spiders has announced that it will make an announcement on the 7th at 7 p.m. CEST.
An announcement for an announcement.
An announcement for an announcement that they are going to put out more information about a new game that they're going to release. So they're going to drop at least information on a new game coming on the 7th. They made that announcement as an imminent reveal on Twitter this week. They don't tend to do sequels, so I don't think it would be a Greedfall 2. Although Greedfall was by far their most popular game that they've had yet.
So I could see them staying on board with that.
Wait,
And
Spiders
it was a
made
good
Greedfall?
game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because they made, if I remember correctly, I was just looking into this because there is a sale going on PlayStation, and one of the games was Technomancer.
Yeah,
I don't know if either of you have heard that. Yeah, okay. So that's just wild to me. Never mind.
Yeah.
I played a game of theirs a long time ago called Mars Warlogs, which was a perfectly fine, like, B-level action RPG, and it's like, okay, this is...
Yep.
Technomancer takes place in
Greedfall
the
was a
same world.
perfectly serviceable B-level RPG.
That's what Technomancer was too.
Yeah.
It was like, this is BioWare light. Like, they looked at a BioWare game and they're like, we could do this, but they didn't have the skill to do it.
That's essentially what it was.
I
With
look
a
at
terrible
Greedfall.
Greedfall was a great game up until the ending, and then the ending just pissed me
I
off.
look at Greedfall and I'm like, that could totally be a $50 game,
Yes.
right? You have the spectrum. You're like, hey, we're an independent studio. We're making something ambitious. This will be $50.
I believe Greedfall was 40. Wasn't Greedfall 40?
I think
Someone
so.
would know this.
I thought it was 60.
No, I believe it was a $40 game. Anybody want to do that research in the chat room? What was the price of Greedfall?
I mean, it's discounted on Steam now.
The original price of Greedfall. Let's see.
It was $50.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Well done, Nick. Yeah, that was a $50 game. It's actually, I would say, yeah, I guess it was better than a $40 game. 50. I'm still pissed off about the ending. The ending was
Mass Effect.
Yeah, Beyond was worse than Mass Effect's. And actually, no. What was the Fallout? That Fallout ending that was so bad that they had to go back and redo it. It was
Fallout
that.
3?
Was it Fallout 3? Is that the one where Todd Howard caught so much hell?
Not sure. 4 did fine. New Vegas did fine, so I imagine it has to
There
be
was
3.
one. Yeah, there was one
I
Fallout
just remember-
that the ending was so bad they actually had to go out and go back and create
I
another
don't
ending.
remember
for
it being so bad. It was just like
Your character
sort of-
died.
well,
and
no,
you couldn't-
it was that your character died by going into some place filled with radiation. But if you had the super mutant in your team, in theory, he could go in there and be fine, but you still did it unvolunteered and died. And people were like, that's kind of dumb. And so they went back and
Well,
changed
no,
that.
and
But
it was also
it was just a little
wasn't
thing
a fully
like that.
it wasn't a fully developed finale. It was sepia toned, like, and then this happened, and then that happened. The end.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
people were pissed off that after all of this game, in a AAA game, to go through all of the game to the final ending, and it was just static screens in sepia tone telling you this is what happened and the end.
Yeah, that's to say I'm okay with that. That's how a lot of RPGs end.
Yeah, no,
it's the what is it?
caught
Animal
so
House.
much hell they had to go back and do it again. Yes,
This
the
person
Animal
went
House.
on to do this. This person went on to do that. It's
Right.
totally that. When you're dealing with a bunch of factions and like, what is the future of this faction? And you could change it depending on your choices. How do we deal with 8 different possible endings for this faction? Well,
it was
some-
as I recall,
let's
it
type up
was
some text and flash
that
it on
that
screen.
you launched into this static screen ending, story time ending after beating the last boss. There was no payoff of
I don't even
what
remember
happened
it.
afterwards. You beat the boss, and then it launched into the static screens and the end, and it pissed people off enough that they had to go back and redo the end.
Yes, it was
and-
Fallout 3, apparently.
Yeah, Fallout 3.
Okay.
And yeah, it was, and you had to pay for the for the new ending. That's the other thing, is you actually had to pay for the DLC to get the better ending. So yeah, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, Greedfall's
Spiders.
end was like that. And on top of that, all of the endings, all of the decisions that you made through the whole game were completely negated by a stock ending that didn't seem to have any variability. Maybe the language changed, but there was very little. And very little of the decisions that you made varied what happened in the end. So yeah, I mean, and I remember, Nick, you defended it vociferously, saying this is not a AAA game. It's a $50 game. If it was a $60 game, you might demand something. And also, this is Spiders. They are not a AAA studio. They are a studio. They're not quite B. They're better than B, but not a AAA.
They honestly do solid work, if you're
they
looking
do.
for that genre. It's a good middle ground.
Yeah.
It is a very good middle ground. It scratches that Bethesda / Dragon Age.
It's BioWare without the
BioWare.
magic.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So you mean BioWare?
BioWare,
Yeah.
well, Bethesda and BioWare. Yeah, I mean, it definitely
modern
felt
BioWare.
more BioWare than Bethesda, but it felt like a BioWare game that just was like a half
Yeah.
game.
I just defend
But it was
that.
good. I played a
just defend
shit
that
ton
type
of it.
ending on concept. That's all.
Yeah, it was a good game up until the end. So I'm excited to see what they would be doing. I am also curious to see if it is a sequel, because they have never done a sequel before, but then they never had anything quite so popular as Greedfall.
Wasn't it? I thought it was Greedfall 2.
We just don't know. It could be.
It could
No,
be
I thought.
Greedfall.
I know.
No,
I
no.
just meant like the Greedfall game was Greedfall 2. Like for
Oh.
some reason.
No,
I got
it
mad.
was just Greedfall. So they could do a Greedfall sequel. I would be all right with that. I would love to see them put a little bit more into their next game. But either way, I'll probably play it. So yeah, that's happening on. That brings me up to I have forgotten to launch our ticker. Wait. I thought, oh god damn it. I edited this and then I stepped away from the editing. So go ahead. Pick your next one, your next story. I'm going to adjust my editor because I didn't save it when I made my edits.
Okay. Well, simple story. Horizon Zero Dawn Complete Edition is coming out on PC
That'd be
on the August 7th. So next month, early next month. Yeah, that's cool. PlayStation games coming out on PC. We had Death Stranding a while ago. Now Horizon.
It'd be cool to see like what updated graphics that games has, just because they could be pretty awesome.
Yeah, especially it already looks so good.
Yeah. So was that it, or?
Yeah, that's it. Just Horizon. Okay. It was one of those things that leaked, I think, in January or something. There were rumors of it for months and months, and they finally announced officially, like, hey, it's coming out on August 7th. So just finally, Sony's like, yeah, okay, we'll talk about it.
So I have something, but before that, not related to news, is actually when I accidentally clicked out of StreamYard. When I came back in, one of the pro tips was lighting can make you look fantastic, and I think that was StreamYard's being a bitch to me. just so that's clear. That felt like an attack, and I just want everyone to know that I feel attacked. I
feel personally wronged by this.
Into news, though, there is a PC game coming out called Mortal Shell. My bad. I keep wanting to call it Reminder, but Mortal Shell is a Dark Souls-esque game that has its own. It has its own fantasy elements, and it was kind of attributed to Warframe, but I think that is not a good comparison. The idea is that as you're playing through the game, you will find these like suits of armor or people that have abilities, and they're dead or they're just sitting there, and you can possess them and kind of use them as a suit, which was the whole Warframe thing. And each one of these suits will have, or shells, will have abilities and powers as you're working through this game. And the combat's kind of like tight and Dark Souls-esque, where it's a focus on dodging, blocking, all that stuff. Well, it was set to release as a closed beta, but according to them, by popular demand, it is now an open beta that is available on Epic Store. So if you want to try this on PC, it's available.
I can't remember where I first heard about this, but I remember hearing about it and thinking that it looked really, really cool.
What was the name of it again?
Mortal Shell.
What's the date that it's supposed to be out?
I'm not sure if it has a confirmed release date yet, but the beta is open as of now. There's an open beta for it. And it's on Epic's Game Store. So that's where you'll find it.
Okay.
And apparently people were asking for it because initially it was going to be closed, but they decided to make it open to everyone.
Oh, cool. More testers. Like, it seems like that's never a bad thing.
Yep. And I have one more piece of news. First I've got okay, there we go. My next item, and I believe it's my last item, is that less than 2 months after Amazon Games' first major game on Steam, Crucible. Did I take yours?
No, I told you I forgot my main note page, and I
Uh-huh.
was forgetting stories, and I remember this was my first story that I wrote down. So good.
Yep. So
I
yeah,
hadn't heard of this.
Amazon launched a game called Crucible, which was a free-to-play MOBA. And it was on Steam, and they put it onto Steam in May, and it's been yanked off of Steam and has now been declared a closed beta for anybody who downloaded the game already.
They unreleased the game,
The unreleased the game.
which I wanted to bring up how weird this was and what you guys thought of the idea of unreleasing a game.
I mean, this is basically like if it just didn't hit and if it just flopped like that, then why bother supporting the servers and all that if you know that you're not going to get a return? It's like, well, shit.
They're remaking it, so
And
Are they?
yeah,
Are they
they're-
still
Yes.
sticking with it?
Yes, they're
Oh,
sticking
okay.
with it. They said they want to help focus on providing the best possible experience for our players. Blah blah
So
blah.
they're doing
blah.
the Valve did with what was the card game that no one liked? There was
don't
the
remember.
Dota-based card game, Ruins. Oh,
just like Final Fantasy 14. That one's easier.
Yeah. So yeah, it's the game's going to continue to launch through Steam, but
Artifact.
starting as of July 1st at noon, new players were no longer able to search for the game and freely download it. Instead, they have to sign up to play the game at the official site and wait for a closed beta invite. And you have to consider this was just a bad move on Amazon's part. First off, they've never made a game like this before. This is, I believe, their first major game that they had done. They did not
put out a
do
small
any
one.
kind of closed beta or even open beta. They just launched it on Steam with a huge amount of hubris. And of course, it had its issues, to say the least.
They say it wasn't ready, like at all. They
It
admitted to
wasn't
that.
ready. Yeah. So I'm not really quite sure who thought it was a great idea to take a game that it'd be one, if a company that has done games before, much less MOBAs, says, okay, yeah, we definitely want to do, we want to do a game. Let's do it right. That would be, or, an established company does a mistake like this. Well, first off, they probably wouldn't make that mistake. But if they do it, it seems like it's a little bit more possible. But if you have a company that has never done a big game before, never done a MOBA before, and then releases a right royal piece of shit onto Steam, that's a problem. And I'm thinking, because it was so half-baked and because it did not go through testing and because it is their first game and because it is Amazon, I think that they released it in May because of coronavirus.
Oh, I can see that.
When everyone started to, because it was in May that everyone, a significant portion of this country was on lockdown. And they said, hey, we now have a ton of people who are going to be playing games because they're either all fired or if they're not working at the moment. Let's release now. Even though it's a little bit too soon, it's not quite ready. I think we can release soon and take advantage of this new market that has been created. Making hay while the sun shines. Amazon, Netflix did very well. Look at Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing benefited from coronavirus massively. The Switch benefited from coronavirus massively.
Not intentionally.
Simply because, not intentionally, it just is the way that it happened. Coincidence that Animal Crossing came out the same week that everybody went on lockdown. That's was a complete coincidence and totally lucky for them. But I think that Amazon went, you know what? Let's take advantage of this too. It's not quite ready, but it'll be fine. And then realized, oh yeah, it's not fine. We didn't see a benefit from it. And what's worse is that it's really a lot less ready than we thought.
So what I think we have here, though, is a confluence of events that just might be genius, because the fact that it is their first game, they have kind of, they didn't have any consumer trust, I guess. Like, they didn't have any of that built up yet outside of just being Amazon.
Yes,
but
that's what I meant. Consumer trust. That's a very good way of putting it.
But with it being a failure and the fact that they can make this big public statement that, hey, we're taking this off Steam, because I don't remember Crucible really coming out. Like, there wasn't a lot of fanfare for it, probably because it was so early. They have built up a lot of press for this, and when they re-release it, they have a chance to do a few things well. Build up consumer trust that, hey, we support our games. We're going to do our best to make sure they work. They have a chance to market the re-release as like, hey, come and try this new game that we didn't advertise before, but now there's going to be articles and just free advertisement to begin with. Mm-hmm. And they have a chance to make something special. However, on the flip side of that, if they screw up again, this will hurt them bad. This will be a disaster for them.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, Amazon Studios' next game is an MMO called New World. So let's see how that launches.
Wow, they are really picking the hardest genres. They're not making life easy for themselves.
Coming out in August. It's set to be released.
That they pick a MOBA and an MMO, two of the hardest, not just technologically, but also, very stuffed and expensive to compete against a marketplace. Yeah, if you succeed, you make a lot of money, but that doesn't mean that everything succeeds. It's kind of the equivalent of opening a restaurant. It's like, yeah, it makes a lot of money, but there's a lot of restaurants go under.
Yeah.
And same thing with MOBAs, same thing with MMOs. They would be better off doing a battle royale game at this point.
Yeah, AC Ray had a good point. They just want to make good use of the servers.
Possibly.
Amazon's like, we got all this web infrastructure. Let's make an online game.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, I mean, if anybody's going to do it cheaply, it's going to be Amazon. They certainly have the money and the servers, which is the most expensive part of a MMO, is the server.
I mean, I think it could work. I mean, they have a chance to become a contender just because they have so much money to throw at something like this.
They just need to actually make good games.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's important.
Jeez.
And I think with this Crucible relaunch, whenever they get to it, they have a chance to break in. Like, they have a chance to make a splash if they do it right. Mm-hmm. It's important that they do it right this one time, though, with no mistakes.
A bunch of people are also speculating that they may want to change their name. Being that Crucible is part of Destiny 2. It's actually a game mode within Destiny 2.
That's true.
That it's kind of like, I don't know if you want to be picking that one. So, has anybody else got anything else? Because we have been going now for 2.5 hours.
Pretty much every show I've been on has been super long so far.
Yeah, you definitely lengthen the shows. But that's okay. That's a good thing.
I'm out.
I have just one more, not really story, but just kind of funny. Kellogg's is releasing a Minecraft cereal called Creeper Crunch.
What?
And inside will be game codes for in-game clothes that you normally have to buy.
Oh, wow.
Yes, Creeper Crunch.
You know what? I'm going to look for this next time I'm at Safeway.
And it is a cinnamon cereal. Like, I don't know much about it. They're squares, like 8-bit blocks. And I found it amusing because clearly Microsoft is trying to market Minecraft in different ways. like, with the dungeon crawler that they made, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, a cereal, which is kind of smart. It is smart because it is marketing to kids who play Minecraft. They have a brand there that can make it sell well. I'm not a fan to marketing to kids, which this is absolutely that, as all cereals typically are. I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting to see people using that Minecraft brand on different things, and in this case, cereal.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me that they're doing it for cereal because I mean, shit, it's money.
Oh yeah.
It's when we had Angry Bird cereal. Why wouldn't we have Minecraft Creeper Crunch?
Did we? Oh wow.
We had Angry Birds fruit roll-ups.
True.
We had Angry Birds yogurt.
Oh wow, I was looking through images and I came across Super Mario cereal.
Also doesn't surprise me. But the thing I kind of like about it is that they're at least providing codes. They're not just using this Creeper Crunch as a like shameless ripoff like Angry Birds. It was like Angry Bird cereal. You want it because it's Angry Birds. It's like Creeper Crunch. You want it because there's codes inside.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just thought it was hilarious. That's all. Of course, Minecraft. It feels like such a corporation move for Minecraft because it's building, like, Minecraft built itself off of kind of not being open source, but built upon by a community, not really owned. It was owned by Mojang, but, like, I may have said that wrong. Mojang, whatever.
Mojang.
But there was such a community focus that it kind of belonged to everyone. And this is just completely like, we're a corporation. We own this brand now. This is a brand here.
Oh, yeah. But, more power to them. More gold-plated Lamborghinis in Mojang's driveway.
And if I'm allowed, since you guys are done, and I want to extend the show even longer, I just want to pimp out a quick game that's on sale. Risk of Rain 2. It is currently on sale for $16, and it is going to be leaving early access here soon. And when it does, it's going to get a price bump of like $5. It's going to go from $20 to $25 for the full game. It is a fun roguelike game. You like those kind of games? It's a shooter. You get to play as a character. There's like, I think 4 starting off, and you can unlock more. And you kind of just jump from world to world, collecting items at random that are in the world, and you just kind of build up this character with special stats and stuff, and you just play. It's a fun game, roguelike. If you're into those kind of things, get it. That's all.
Okay.
Risk of Rain 2.
All right.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, that's it for me. I've padded the runtime enough.
I'm just looking through cereal. It was apparently a Pac-Man cereal and a Pokemon cereal too.
Yeah, cereals are always the first line of defense for cross-product merchandising.
But it looks like there was more in the 80s too. Like there was.
I think I send you some pictures of like when I went to, because there's this place that's this grocery store in the Bay Area and actually around all across California and I think a couple of other states called Grocery Outlet. And what they are is they take foods that either they overproduced or maybe there is an error on the labeling so that they can't sell it to supermarkets. So Grocery Outlet buys it from them at a discount and then sells it. And you can get amazing food for dirt fucking cheap. Dirt cheap. And it's a really good, I mean, that's where I walk out with a like grocery cart, heaping grocery cart. I go there once every couple of months, like heaping pile of grocery cart and never spent more than $250. Like usually it's around $200 for a grocery cart that is a pile of food that lasts me for 2 months. And I remember going through there, especially at holiday times, right after the holidays, that's when you start seeing the holiday cereals that didn't sell showing up on the shelves at grocery outlet. And I recall going through there and finding, especially like the holiday, the pumpkin spice bullshit go on the shelves. And I remember taking pictures of it and sending it to you and Goalie. I have to look back to see, but there were some appalling grocery outlet stuff like, oh, yeah, here we go. I don't know if you can see it. Drumstick cereal.
Oh, I kind of remember
drumstick
that. Yeah.
Cone.
There's a meme that's like literally like, hey, what if drumstick cone like ends were a cereal? And
Yeah.
clearly it was.
Hostess donuts
Oh.
cereal. And I don't know if you can see it.
Phillows?
Phillows, cinnamon roll Phillows. There is cinnamon roll cream filled cereal.
Ew.
Just all kinds of bad stuff.
I'm going to have to go check out this place. I think there's one nearby.
Yeah.
I don't think we have one here, so
Yeah, no, grocery outlet is awesome. And that's where I also found the holiday peanut butter ding dongs. Remember when we had our ding dongs conversation about, like with Goalie years ago?
I thought it was ho-hos.
Ho-hos, yeah.
Yeah, the
They had-
chocolate ho-hos.
Yeah, peanut butter ho-hos.
Those actually sound kind of good.
Yeah, I know what they would sound good to you. Yep.
they sound great.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
would
they'd
totally
kill
get-
you, Edie, but they'd sound great to us.
Whenever
Yeah,
I
I'd totally eat
find
a peanut
just
butter ho-ho.
absolutely fucking ludicrous bullshit, I always have to like take a picture because I'm like, this is wrong. This is what's wrong with America right now. But my favorite find there, I will share that for you. I don't know if you can see it.
Was
See
it
if I can
apples?
get it too. It is apples, but it says on there it is fresh stone fruit. All right, no, it was plums. It was a bag of plums that says fresh stone fruit, and then underneath it, where it's supposed to say plums, it says lorem ipsum.
Mm.
And anybody that knows writing, lorem ipsum there's actually a lorem ipsum generator. And when you're doing a mock-up of something and you need to put text on on the mock-up of it, you can actually go to the lorem ipsum generator and say, I need 4 inches of text. And you get this lorem, it's this essentially, I have no idea what it is. It's Latin text that everybody uses as filler text during a project. And somebody obviously made that bag and they wrote out the design for the bag and said lorem ipsum. And then rather than they forgot to change it to plums and just left it as lorem ipsum. So they had to sell those bags of plums to, like I said, mislabeled,
Think
had
that
to
person
sell it
got
to
fired.
grocery outlet. So every once in a while you come across something like, oh, these are lorem ipsum plums.
Jeez.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. So yeah, go to grocery outlet and go to the cereal aisle. It is full of everything wrong with America. It is a study in childhood obesity.
I am a master of that. Like, we can have a class.
Forget Your Life says all the women in my wife's side go there and buy massive amounts of cheap wine. Oh, I gotta show you this. This comes out of a grocery outlet. This was my favorite grocery outlet find. Be right back.
Okay.
And as she disappears, I'm the one who extends the show.
Yeah. She has to go show off her wine.
Yeah.
The cheap wine. This wine, this was only $1.
And yes, it is wine. Oops. Don't. All right. This is my favorite grocery outlet find of all time. Yes. Wine, usually $2.99 to $7.99 a bottle. I mean, it is an alcoholic stream. Also beer too.
Yeah.
Beer's super cheap there. But this is my favorite one. It is a Walking Dead Cabernet Sauvignon.
Yeah.
I've shown this to you. I've actually had this. This is what I drank, getting incredibly drunk on the drunk cast when we played. I forget what we played.
Oh, what's the name of the place? Not Cost Plus. World Market?
Yeah.
World Market has a bunch of wines, kind of like that, like a bunch of themed wines. You'll find a bunch of them at World Market.
Yeah, and they still have it on the shelves. I was there yesterday. It was almost picked up some more, but it is really bad.
I actually at World Market I once found
$3.99 for this. It's $3.99 a bottle.
I found they had a Game of Thrones wine at World Market. It was really good, actually.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think they have it anymore, but it was good.
Yeah. The women in your life, yes, that is where you go buy your Sauvignon Blanc and your Pinot Grigio, and you feel absolutely zero guilt of mixing it with seltzer water to make a spritzer. That is a place where spritzers start.
This is where you go to get drunk.
This is where you definitely go to get drunk.
Just put a straw in that bottle and go to town.
When the bottle of wine is literally cheaper than going out and buying some Cisco 2020 or whatever it is. So the cheap stuff, the real cheap stuff. When you're an alcoholic, but you kind of, don't want to let everybody know you're an alcoholic. Yeah, you go there. It is some really, really horrible stuff. And also that's when and I highly recommend finishing up all of your grocery outlet wine before you go to grocery outlet, then heading down the cereal aisle and killing your children with sugar. Yeah. Oh, Kix. Oh my God, Kix. Did anybody eat Kix? They were disgusting.
I loved Kix until they changed something about them. I remember distinctly loving it as a kid because it had like a real butter flavor to it, and then they changed something about the formula, and I was like, "Oh, this just isn't the same. I can't stand this anymore."
When I was younger, my mom would get stuff like from food pantries, and there was always Kix.
Mm-hmm,
for whatever reason, like.
Wait, is Kix what I'm thinking of? What was Kix?
Kix were the ones, they looked like Trix, but they had no flavor.
Yeah, they were just bland. Right.
That was their whole thing. They had no sugar.
Kix. I loved Kix until they changed the formula.
Kix was the one Mikey eats. Mikey, he likes it. Hey, Mikey.
Changed the formula and it got bland. Before it tasted like butter. It was like, this is butter the cereal. It's great.
Buds. That's what happened. You developed taste buds, and then you were like, okay, this tastes like nothing.
No.
Right. No. That was what you fed your kids when you felt bad about giving them sugar. So you just got rid of all of the color and the overt sugar, but it was still totally full of carbohydrates and fat.
Yeah, no, you're just like, here, eat this. It's
fake calories. It was parental guilt. Right. That's what it was. It's calories. This is just your calories.
You get nothing from this, but calories.
Yeah, I'm looking up Kix here. Kix cereal.
Look up Kix cereal change in formula.
I'm gonna look up something too, and I'm not just pretending to type.
Oh, wait, this says they changed the formula in 2017, but it was before that, definitely.
Come on. There it is.
2015.
Why are you not giving me... Oh, I know why. This is Kix.
Is it
there we go. It's still on sale at Target. Kix cereal. That's stuff right there. $2.69 for a box of Kix. Notice the prices of everything that's good. Even Rice Krispies is $4.
Hey, Rice Krispies is great. Why you say that? Like,
I love Rice Krispies.
Yeah. You have to be 40.
I would totally get a couple boxes of Kix for $3 each.
Yeah.
Kaz, you have to be 40 plus to buy from that wine site.
Huh?
Oh, Kaz says apparently she's too young, and I know her age. She's over 21. Apparently, you have to be like 40 or something to buy from that cheap wine site.
Yep. Yep.
Why?
No, you don't actually have to.
Life
but-
cereal. Thank you. Mikey was Life cereal. Life was Flat Kicks.
Oh,
Oh God, Life was horrible.
life is good too. I like life. Life is good too.
You like Life cereal?
Yeah.
Ew.
Now you know what I think. You know what I think it is. For me, you just can't have a bad cereal. Like all cereal is inherently good at its core. It's like, yeah, I'll eat this. I'll eat this. Any cereal is
No,
good.
no. I disagree.
Where is? Oh yeah, there is. There's a bad cereal. Let me show you the worst cereal fucking ever made. And this coming from someone I love. Grape nuts. Grape nuts are really good. Grape nuts are horrible, but I like them.
Okay.
This is the absolute worst cereal ever created, and yet it is still being made. I do not know why. That's the stuff right there.
All brand cereal.
All brand. Oh,
Not have that.
I challenge you. I challenge you to buy a
That's-
box of All Brand.
Okay, I will. Not all cereal is good. I will say I made a mistake at one point.
Now you notice how they're advertising it. They've got the box, right?
Uh-huh.
They've got the back of the box. They've got the bowl. By the way, see this right there? That's what it fucking looks like.
It's cardboard.
It looks. Oh, it's horrible. But then the other thing that they use to sell it, you can make coffee cake with it.
Okay.
It's not for human consumption unless you mix it with a bunch of other stuff.
It's an
like walnuts
ingredient.
and sugar. It's an ingredient. It is not fit for human consumption.
No, the one
that
cereal-
stuff is horrible.
One cereal mistake I made was buying this like Safeway brand what I thought was Frosted Mini Wheats, because Frosted Mini Wheats you can't go wrong with them, right?
Mm-hmm.
The cereal I bought was just Mini Wheats. There was no frosting on them. There was no sugar on them.
Yes.
That's
And,
terrible.
and as
You
I
just
ate,
get
I was
mini
like,
wheats, but not the frosted mini. The frosted mini wheats are the ones with the frosting. The
and
mini
they're the good
wheats
ones.
are
They're the
just
good ones.
right.
The regular Mini Wheats is like, oh God, I can't. No, this is terrible. Like, oh Jesus.
No,
It
my
was-
dad
it was not good.
loved those.
Not
But
good.
see, now they make the mini wheats but the reason why they're called mini wheats is because they originally came out and they were a cake. They were about that long and about that thick, and you'd put it in a bowl and you'd put milk over it, and then or hot milk. This is before microwaves. But after microwaves, you would heat that whole thing up in the milk so that it was essentially make mush. That's what they were.
Oh, your wheat.
Your wheats.
Your
I
regular
forget what
sized
they were
wheat.
called. I forget what they were originally called. And then mini wheats came out, and then they put frosting on it, and then they took off. And it was like
Yeah.
frosted mini wheats all the way. Let's get rid of those old ones. This big old, they came in a paper wrap, and you would just unwrap the thing, pop it down in the bowl, pour milk over it, and then crack it apart with cold milk, or warm it up in a microwave and then crack it apart. And it would
It's
be
the
mushy.
ramen of cereal.
It was the ramen of breakfast cereal. Yes. Very
See,
much
you
so.
put it that way, and I'm on board.
Mini frosted mini wheats are my favorite, like, just to eat snack. Like, you just dump it in a bowl and you just kind of eat it one at a
Oh
time.
yeah, you don't need
Like,
milk. No, not at all.
Yeah, what are the ones that I just eat? I've never eaten with milk. There's one that it's like, it's just straight in the mouth. I think it's cinnamon toast squares.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch?
Yeah, cinnamon toast crunch. Yeah, I have never had it with milk. It never makes it to there.
Fair.
It's
Fair.
finger food is what it is.
Yes.
And honestly, it makes the milk taste weird.
Yes, a soaking wet bird's nest is about what it was. Yes. That's what they were like.
Well, listen, ramen tastes okay, but it's like college kid food when you have no money, and that's just what I imagine this is you
Yes.
get it. And
That's what it is. It's shredded wheat. That's the name of it. That's what they were originally called, shredded wheat.
Oh,
And then you got mini wheats. Oh, my dad loved shredded wheats. I'm looking it up right now. They've got to have some images of shredded wheat. Somebody's got to have a big shredded wheat.
He even says they put brown sugar or honey on it. They frost their shredded wheat.
Right.
Essentially.
Yes. Oh, come on. All right. Here it is. I have to unshare it. Let me see. Where is it? Share that screen. And then I got to share this screen. Chrome tab. There we go. There it is, right there.
Ha! That's that's a big
They were
frosted mini wheats.
big,
Yeah.
gigantic frosted
exactly
mini wheat,
what
about
they are.
that big.
It's
My
like
dad
someone took
loves shredded wheat.
in big and Ray and shot it at a mini wheat and just made it bigger.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
It was a pillow as opposed to, like little tiny bites. Yeah. They are horrible. My dad loved them. And then
Although
of course,
honestly though, like if you just put some frosting on that, I'm sure it tastes great.
oh yeah,
It's just
and
like frosted mini
they
wheats.
did make frosted wheats.
That's all you got to do.
And,
They
yeah.
did make frosted shredded wheats, and then they went to frosted mini wheats because people didn't want the frosted wheats. Yeah.
And to be fair, Edie, between how long ago was it when your dad was 20 to 30? Let's say. Like,
My dad was 20 during World War II.
okay, so did he smoke at all?
Yo,
Like,
everybody smoked in World War II.
Exactly. Everybody smoked, so you could eat something like that and be like, I can't taste anything
You would
anyways.
you would eat it for health with a cigarette in your hand, like a cigarette in one hand, eating your frosted wheats in the other, going, "I'm healthy."
That's why you can love that kind of stuff. Just no taste. You can't taste anything anyways, so.
But he loved that stuff, or as he likes to call mush, which was cream of wheat. Oh, I loved cream of wheat. Loved cream of wheat. I still do, actually, on a hot, cold day. How did we get onto this? Seriously. Fuck you guys. It's turned into
you're
a
the one that talks
3-hour
about-
show again.
You are the one that started talking about grocery outlets.
I blame the chat room.
Which are the
All you
best, by the way.
fuckers getting us onto shit like that. I need to go drink my $3.99 Walking Dead wine. I've had so much of that wine. It's like that's the one bottle that I
Walking
have
Dead
not
wine?
had. Oh yeah, I have. Yeah, I'm done with it. I cannot drink anymore.
Wait, when did you buy the pack of them? Or
Oh, every time I went to grocery outlet, I
you're
bought
just
like
picking 'em
10
up left and
bottles.
right. Oh,
And it was like,
Jesus.
all like whenever I'm like, hey, I'm a little drunk. It's because I was drinking Walking Dead wine.
Okay.
That's not the kind you drink with dinner. That's after dinner when you're sitting on the couch.
Oh no,
You're just-
this is way before dinner. This is when you open it to use it to cook with,
This is the
and you
pregame.
finish the bottle while you're cooking. Because that's how I do my cooking. 1 for the pot, 2 for the cook. All right. I guess we'll close this out. It's just been another incredibly long show, and with hilarious, stupid tangents, because that's how
I don't
we
know, what is
roll.
it? Cereal? Does anyone have any like shoes they
Whoops.
want to talk about?
Oh, Nick, you're disconnected. Oh,
Man, I
you
was
better
just about to
check
say-
your internet.
I was just about to talk Star Wars with them. Yeah, Nick, you want to continue to talk about Star Wars? Like,
Oh yeah,
And
let's get-
Andrew is now on the bottom of the screen. Who wants to go to the bottom of the fucking screen?
Star Wars.
Anybody? All right.
You want to talk
let's-
about mugs?
No, let's close. We're going to close this out. Let's close this out. Wait, hold on. You've been listening to GameHounds episode 552. We recorded this on Sunday, July 5th, 2020. I've been Edie Sellers. With me has been Nick DiNicola and Andrew Smith. Ways to get a hold of us is gamehounds.net is our website, and gamehounds@gmail.com is our email. We record this show live every Sunday at 2 o'clock Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern on Spreaker. That's speaker with an R, Spreaker.com. Join us. You can join us in our audio, or if you want to just like go the extra step further, you can watch us on our live stream. We are live streaming on Facebook and YouTube. On YouTube, we are GameHounds Vids, VIDS, GameHounds Vids. On Facebook, we are The GameHounds. Join us Sundays, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, both those places. And if you want to listen to us after the fact, don't hesitate to go to Spreaker. You can download or stream us there. We are also on iTunes. We are also on iHeartRadio. I believe we're actually on Alexa devices too. and Sonos speakers. I haven't mentioned those in a while, but yeah, if you ask, you can absolutely get it. You just ask for Spreaker, tell Sonos and Alexa to play Spreaker, and you will be on. In theory, we're also on the Google thing, whatever the Google, hey Google thing. So, thank you very much, AC Wraith, our link bitch, who provides all the links in the chat room for everything that we talked about. He reminded me we have a Patreon. Please, first off, if you are watching on YouTube, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, then hit the bell. Hit the bell right down there for notifications when we go live. Like and subscribe, people. But also, if you really, really like us, you can help support this show, help support the live stream, and kind of offload a little bit of the expense for us. We only ask for $1 a month. That's all that we're asking on our Patreon. Patreon.com/GameHounds. We please, if you can, that would be great. No, don't feel obligated, but it would be really nice. And if you can spend more than $1 a month, we certainly appreciate that too. Every dollar that you donate is spent to offset the costs of all of the software that we need to use and all of the subscriptions that we have. So we'll be back next week. Thank you very much, Nick. Thank you very much, Andrew. Have a great night. Bye, everyone. I really expected you to bring up something.
Me?
Like Gully would do and try to extend it so it would go over in the music because he's a dick.
No, I couldn't think of anything.
All right, so
I did see the AC Wraith said we started it with Minecraft cereal.
Yeah,
he absolves the chat of all responsibility.
We didn't start it. Yeah, right there, that guy right there. He started it right there. That one. There we go. That one right there. He started it. All right, so we are still live on YouTube. Hi, everyone.
Not gonna be creepy.
No creepy.
Oh.
AC Ray says the bottom of the screen is Nick's slot. Nobody else can afford the rent.
I don't know, but I guess
Your
one
rent
hand is like more spacious and like wide open, but usually like the bottom is cheaper than the top.
Your
That's
rent
true.
is
We're the
more
penthouse.
than what I make in a month. I could not live at your place.
Well, if you lived here,
Yeah.
you wouldn't make that a month. Our minimum wage is in my town, it's $12.80 is minimum wage.
Okay, see, I make 15, so
Right. But if you were here, you wouldn't be making 15. You
No.
would be making like 25.
okay, that'd be nice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but you would also be paying $2,000 a month for your rent.
Yeah.
Granted, Nick lives alone in a 2-bedroom, so
I
that's
just need to live in someone's basement, like a
right. You'd have to
gremlin.
have a roommate, and you get a
Six.
2-bedroom so you'd be spending half that.
Mhm.
Yeah. When you said, "Oh, I'm moving out into my own apartment," I'm like, "You are?" Because in the Bay Area, nobody lives on their own except for Nick, because he's got a really good rent and he's got a really good job. But most people
No, I'll
don't
probably
live on their own.
move. I'll probably move in October
Yeah.
when the lease is up.
There's that. And yeah, you had roommates up until you moved in with Caitlin.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, guys, have a good night. Everybody in the chat room. Kaz, I haven't said hi to you. Hey, you doing, Kaz? Yeah, Andre, AC Wraith, Forget Your Life. Thank you so much for being on the show. You guys, seriously, you make the show. If you weren't here, we would be nowhere near as fun as we are.
We wouldn't talk about cereal. We wouldn't talk about groceries.
Yeah. And
What would we
keep us
talk
honest.
about?
It'd be 3 hours of boring. Like
Fucking
we gotta admit,
Warframe. Everybody talking. "Oh,
Yes.
Did you see what I named our
I will convert you.
spaceship?
I will convert you.
They got new.
That's true. We need the
levels."
chat to recommend us
They have
games
new
that we
maps
won't
now.
play for like a year and a half, and then we'll play it and go, "Yeah, maybe chat was right."
Chat's always right. That's the thing, is it keeps us honest. Because we will say shit and then people will go, "Yeah, no, that's wrong." And it's like, "Oh, thanks, chat. You got me. You got my back. You're stopping me
Thanks,
from
you dicks.
looking like a complete moron, just a sort of moron."
Yeah.
All
And
right.
cats.
Kaz is only here for the cats. All right, so I'm gonna go back and start playing some ESO. And Nick, do you want to play some ESO today?
Sure. Probably get something to eat first, but
Yeah, I gotta get dinner starting to go on the barbecue. But yeah, let's play some ESO. I cannot play until 4 o'clock in the morning again. I have to go to work in the morning.
okay.
Go to work, meaning that I have to be back there, but I have to be there at 8 o'clock in the morning. So
yeah, 4 hours of sleep. That's enough.
yeah, I did not sleep well last night. I cannot do the 4 o'clock in the mornings. I need at least 5.5. I can function
Once you
on
wake up,
6.
like I just woke up around like noon or 1. Like that's when I got up.
Well, the nature of my house is that I have a house that is 20 feet direction there, and then my bedroom, which is that door back there, is we don't have any air conditioning, so you have to have the windows open, and that my one window in my bedroom overlooks a courtyard that is essentially the back of an apartment building. And it's literally like the building next door touches my building. Fucking, I don't know why this place was built more than 120 years ago. And so was the place next door. But for some reason, I've looked at it, historical pictures of my neighborhood, and it is a wide open space. There is nothing but prairies and fields except our two buildings built next to each other, touching. I have no idea how that happened, but it did. So anyway, less than 15 feet from my sleeping head inside my window is the garbage cans and this garden area of the place next door. And there's a guy, and that's his TMI. There's a guy who we have affectionately named Ralph. Ralph, either he's got something very, very, very wrong with him, or he is an alcoholic, or he is in cancer treatment and getting chemotherapy. But at between 8 and 8:30 every single morning, Ralph, with his bathroom window open, which is right facing that courtyard and 20 feet from my sleeping head, is violently vomiting every morning at the top of his lungs.
Who needs an alarm clock when you have that?
Right. Ralph wakes me up every morning. I have whatever gag reflex I have from the sound of somebody throwing up is gone, because I literally hear it every morning of somebody like projectile vomiting every single morning. And this has been going on for about 6 months. So I'm thinking he's just an alcoholic. But yeah, Ralph was, because it was a holiday weekend, Ralph was on overload this morning.
In the chat.
What? Ralph eats kicks.
Makes sense. He wakes up to sit down to have a nice
maybe
bowl.
that's what it is. I've been trying to be charitable because I'm like, well, maybe he's in chemotherapy, but maybe he just eats kicks.
He eats kicks with wine.
Right. Yeah, with this stuff.
Yeah.
Just sits down, yes, so good.
Yeah. It's gotten to the point when those rare moments when I have had so much alcohol that I have needed to purge, I actually open up my bathroom window, which faces Ralph's, and projectile vomit as loud as I possibly can, just to get him back.
Just meet one morning. Hey, bleh. Have a good day.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Because I'm afraid he just might be sick, so I don't want to like antagonize him, but I kind of want to go, "How you doing there, Ralph?" every morning whenever he does it, so that he knows, because I don't think he knows that I get to enjoy his puking every morning. But he's got to hear, when he goes out, he's got to hear me snoring inside the window. Nick, I snore. He's got to hear me snoring, because it's not like somebody whispering will wake me up because it's so close to my head. So they've got to hear me snoring inside, and then once there's like,
maybe that's why he does it.
They've got to notice that the snoring stops.
Get back to you about the snoring.
You
It's a
cut them up
vicious
for months,
cycle
Edie.
of revenge.
You kept him up so late he started to drink, and so when he wakes up, he throws up.
To wake you
Oh,
up.
so
Yeah.
my fault. It's my fault. All right, good to know.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna say that. Just start yelling. How you doing there, Ralph? Morning.
Give him like, yeah, you need a mint? Throw
Just
from
like,
window
yeah,
to
just-
window.
Yeah, or like, hey, don't forget to rinse your mouth.
Just leave like a box of Altoids on his windowsill.
DJ Phil B. Collins says we should make a little gift basket with mouthwash and paper bags.
Put the GameHounds logo on it.
Yeah.
Little branding.
Little branding.
Oh, that would be awesome. No, I'm gonna resist that. All right. So, no, I cannot be, because Ralph, my alarm clock will wake me up at 8:00 tomorrow morning, regardless of whether I want to sleep in. So yeah, when I play till 4:30 or 4:00 in the morning, I'm still waking up at 8 no matter what, and I cannot function with less than like 5.5 is the absolute limit. 5.5 to 6, I'm standing, but at least I'm not dizzy. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I had to leave and get coffee in the middle of a show in the afternoon, because I was falling asleep at the beginning of this. But yeah, 6 hours is minimum. But I'm a 7 to an 8 hour sleeper, and that's where I function best. So yeah, go get yourself something to eat. We're gonna go play.
Okay.
Have fun.
All right, Nick. Andrew, have a great weekend, because it is now your weekend.
I work tomorrow.
Aw.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Wednesday, it's Mondays. You work late. You start at 10?
I pick up an extra shift sometimes.
Oh, okay.
It just varies. I pick up extra work when I can, because I only work 32 hours scheduled. So I always try to pick up an extra day.
Got it. All right, gentlemen, have a great night. Thank you for that awesome DJ Phil T.B. Collins. This is the first time I've seen you. Welcome to GameHounds. You have made your entrance.
That is a mistake. A perfect way to end.
All right.
No, we'll ask how Ralph is next time.
Yeah. I'll give you an update on Ralph.
Yeah.
We don't have goalie for the weather. So, and we live in California where it's always beautiful. So the least I could do is give you an update on how's Ralph feeling today.
Yeah.
Ralph report.
The Ralph report.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I need to make a sound, like a music stinger for that. The little jingle.
I'm just
going to
leave
report
before this goes any farther.
All right, everybody. We will talk to you later. Have a good night. Bye, everyone.